Chapter 260. Donghuang Baiji said in a low voice, "I was wrong, all right? Seeing that you have a good attitude, I'll forgive you." After pausing for a moment, Yi Hua pretended to sniff the air and his brows wrinkled. "What's wrong?" Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. "Baiji, don't you smell something strange?" "No." Yi Hua said, "Give me your hand." Donghuang Baiji stretched out her lotus-like jade-like arm towards Yi Hua, and Yi Hua immediately said, "It stinks. Coincidentally, there's water here. Come and take a bath." Donghuang Baiji wasn't a fool, she was the empress. How could she not know what Yi Hua was thinking about? And of course she wouldn't expose Yi Hua. "I'll help you wash, I'll wash myself." These two women must have discussed their relationship beforehand. They can't even take a bath together? Too petty? "I have already let you all see my naked body, why can't you all let me have a look? Listen to me, come in and wash up." With a red face, Donghuang Baiji said, "When you recover, I'll accompany you to bathe." Motherf *her, it seems like my injuries are going to heal in advance. Yi Hua's goal ended in failure, and soon after he was carried onto the bed by Donghuang Baiji. At this moment, Qinya slowly walked in. "Baiji, did Yi Hua say that your body is stinky?" Yi Hua took a glare at Qinya. What are you doing? What are you doing? It has only been one day and you are already rebelling?" "That's right, Qinya, how did you know? Could it be that Yi Hua Qinya laughed. "Baiji, he is just trying to trick us into bathing together. Sometimes I even suspect that he is pretending to be sick." "I also have my suspicions." Donghuang Baiji nodded her head as she attentively observed Yi Hua. F***ck, it's only the second day and I'm already exposed. It wasn't good for a woman to be too smart. No, I, the Supreme Overlord, am also a vegetarian. For the sake of the two of you, I am about to die, and you still dare to say that I am pretending? Qinya, Baiji, the two of you are great." Yi Hua said gravely, and that tone of his was filled with resentment towards life. Sure enough, right after Yi Hua said those words, the two goddesses hurriedly consoled him, coaxed him in all sorts of ways and even kissed him as an apology. Only then did Yi Hua finally calm down. Although it wasn't like the night before, the current situation was more or less the same. Felt so good. Qinya seemed to have thought of a bad idea and said to Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, "Baiji, do you still remember how Yi Hua bullied us in the past?" Yi Hua, who was lying on the bed, immediately felt that something was wrong. This Qinya is starting to be mischievous again. "And he spanked our butts, and my butts were even swollen by him." Thinking back to what happened that day, Donghuang Baiji's hands immediately became itchy. Yi Hua immediately shouted out gravely, "What are you two trying to do? I risked my life to save you. Do you have the nerve to take revenge?" Donghuang Baiji held onto Yi Hua's hand and said tenderly, "Yi Hua, I know what you are thinking and I love you too. However, this doesn't stop me from loving you even more. What Baiji said is right, if we don't fight now, we won't have another chance in the future." Qinya felt that what Baiji said was reasonable. The two women hit it off immediately and flipped Yi Hua over. "Don't act recklessly. If you wait for me to recover, I will spank your buttocks till they become swollen." Yi Hua shouted out coldly. However, this was completely useless. Qinya leaned close to Yi Hua's ear and said sweetly, "Yi Hua, in any case in the future I will be spanked by you, so for now, let us enjoy ourselves first. Be obedient, don't scream, no one will come and save you." After finished speaking, Qinya even kissed Yi Hua. You too. Just you wait." Qinya and Donghuang Baiji raised their hands. "Yi Hua, all of our love for you is contained in our palms." Pa. Pa. Just from the sound, one could tell that the spanking was very heavy. Feeling the pain coming from his buttocks, Yi Hua wished that he could get up right now, place the two women on his lap and ruthlessly spank them. "Yi Hua, why are you frowning? Does it hurt?" Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Yi Hua was startled. "What a smart woman, I nearly fell into your trap." I don't feel anything. If you have the ability, then spank me again. In the future it will be the same even if I spank you too. For someone as quick-witted as me to want to dig a hole for me to jump into, you are thinking too much." The two goddesses could be seen raising and lowering their hands, and immediately, the sound of spanking rang out within the bedroom. Completely out of control. Completely out of control. Just as Yi Hua was feeling angry, Wei Chang suddenly sent a message over. "Your Honor, I just received the latest news about Sun Fang. Don't talk about small matters, I am currently not in a good mood." Wei Chang was very puzzled. Logically speaking, His Honor should be in a good mood right now. It's like this, Dry Zen sect was exterminated last night, and the culprit did not leave the sect. Instead, he occupied the sect and declared himself as the king. So be it, this is a good thing. Yihua said faintly. I wish that more dry Zen sect would be exterminated. If it was that simple, subordinate wouldn't have reported it to you. Wei Chang said gravely. When the two women saw that Yihua was frowning and not saying anything, they thought that Yihua was angry. Thus, they immediately stopped and patted Yihua's red buttocks. That's right. And this is the kind where I take off my pants and spank them. Wei Chang could be heard saying, those people took on all of our responsibilities. For example, the 3 northern powers that His Honor exterminated, and the 3 big shots that were killed by the Red and Green brothers. Those people took on all of our responsibilities, and they even let out a message saying that they welcome everyone to take revenge on us. Yihua's brows became even deeper as he thought. Yihua's brows became deeper. Yihua's expression caused Qingya and Donghuang Baiji to feel a bit scared. Yihua, we are sorry, we only wanted to make you happy. Donghuang Baiji hurriedly apologized. Qingya pouted her little mouth and acted cute, saying, I don't care what you do, please don't be angry. It's useless, I am angry. I didn't expect that there would be such an effect. Although that was what Yihua said, he still asked, Wei Chang, are there any unusual movements in the north and south? Because of today's matter, they stopped their actions. It seems like all of them are targeting this group of unknown powers. Donghuang Baiji went into a slight daze. After receiving the jade slip that Yuan De sent over, and looking at the information on the jade slip, Donghuang Baiji's expression became very grave. This group of people really ruined all of my plans. This made me very unhappy. Go and scout out the situation first. Wait for my order, and be prepared to exterminate them at any moment. Yes. After cutting off the connection with Wei Chang, Yihua began to teach the 2 lawless women a lesson. You 2 are truly too arrogant, even my buttocks are red from being slapped by you 2. Do you 2 know your wrongs now? Yihua said gravely. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads, looking like a little wife that had been wronged. Looking at their current state, Yihua couldn't bear to teach them a lesson. Baiji, what's wrong? Seeing that Donghuang Baiji was acting strangely, Yihua asked. Right now, Donghuang Baiji wouldn't hide anything from her man anymore. She said tenderly, just now news came from Voidless Realm. Dry Zen sect in the south was exterminated, and not only did the culprit not leave, the culprit stayed behind. The culprit even admitted to a lot of atrocities, especially the 3 northern powers that disappeared. Chapter 261. Thinking about it, it's good for those people to admit to it. I can just push the blame to them. Wouldn't this be indirectly helping me? This is a bit interesting. Baiji, what are you all planning to do? Qingya asked curiously. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. These are all decided by the aristocratic families and families. If there is no other way, the 3 big powers will only take action. However, this is the matter of the south and the pressure will be greater. Even if the people from the north are going to take action, they are going to take revenge. Donghuang Baiji added. Qingya was a bit worried. To be able to exterminate an entire sect in a single night, I reckon that those people should be very powerful. And at the very least, they have reached the level of aristocratic families. Donghuang Baiji agreed. However, they were thinking too lightly. Those people had already surpassed the strength of big powers, and the time they took to exterminate an entire sect was less than 5 minutes. Don't talk while sitting, talk while lying down. Yihua said faintly. Although I can't talk at night, I should be able to lie down during the day, right? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji shyly rolled their eyes at Yihua, then lightly lied down and leaned on Yihua's side. Half of my wish has finally been fulfilled. I still need to work harder. I heard that if a family wants to become an aristocratic family, they need your approval? Yihua asked curiously. Donghuang Baiji nodded her head. That's right. If a family wants to become an aristocratic family, they must first meet the requirement of possessing an ancient godly item. After that, after going through the examination of the aristocratic families, my voidless realm will evaluate the family's strength and financial strength. I didn't expect Baiji's authority to be so big. Yihua laughed lightly. Donghuang Baiji's face turned red. No matter how much authority I have, I will still be bullied by you. Then, are there any families that are going to become aristocratic families recently? Yihua was trying to get information from his wife. Originally, Xiao family was the one that was going to become an aristocratic family, but Bai family obtained an ancient godly item. Therefore, right now Xiao family and Bai family are fighting for a spot. Donghuang Baiji didn't seem to take it to heart. After all, aristocratic families are merely families that possess ancient godly items, and there is nothing to fear. Compared to Voidless Realm, aristocratic families are still lacking a lot. Even if Voidless Realm's vitality is greatly damaged, aristocratic families still aren't comparable to them. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baiji wanted to see which aristocratic families are going to take action. One shouldn't think that Donghuang Baiji was a good empress. Her good side was only displayed in front of Yihua. What do you think of the two families? Yihua asked. Facing her husband's question, Donghuang Baiji wouldn't hide anything from him. Judging from the data, Bai family's advantage is slightly stronger. Bai Cixin can also be counted as a woman with great abilities, and adding on her husband, Wang Debao, who is the icing on the cake, Bai family also has quite a few financial groups attached to them. Thus, Bai Cixin can be counted as quite a big harvest. Does this family have to pay you money? Qinya asked curiously. And every year the aristocratic families will have to pay tribute to the aristocratic families. Therefore, during the selection, income is also one of the factors. This time, Xiao family's financial evaluation is lower than Bai family's, and a lot of rich and powerful people left Xiao family and joined Bai family's camp. Donghuang Baiji mumbled while leaning on Yihua's shoulder. Qinya held onto her forehead and said, "Seems like I am not the richest woman. Qinya, right now, you can be considered as the most powerful woman, even I am not your opponent." What Donghuang Baiji said was indeed correct. Qinya's awakening was an earth-shattering change, and in terms of individual strength, Qinya had become very powerful. Yihua felt the same too. Baiji, you have to teach Qinya in this aspect. Right now, Qinya only has brute force, but she doesn't know how to use it. And I understand. Donghuang Baiji replied. Yihua is the real empress, and he started ordering the empress around. Baiji, from what I see, Xiao family is actually not bad. How about we let Xiao family obtain the qualification this time? Yihua said. Donghuang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then said tenderly, I will listen to you, Aya. When this woman becomes obedient, I really can't stand it anymore. Baiji, you should still do things according to the rules I was just saying. Yihua laughed lightly. For this Xiao family, I still have to ask Wei Chang to remind them not to fight for the qualification and just give it to Bai family. Everything is under my control, this feeling is very good. Yihua and that Xiaoyi had a conflict in the past. That Xiaoyi didn't return the money after he lost, but in the end he still returned the money. Qinya laughed tenderly. Thinking back to that time, it was rather exciting. Donghuang Baiji said helplessly, seems like I missed a lot of good shows. From today onwards you won't miss a single show. Yihua said warmly, causing Donghuang Baiji to smile happily. Daddy, Daddy, Ali finished looking at Snow White. Donghuang Li could be seen jogging over, then taking off her shoes and jumping onto the bed, then hugged onto her father. Yihua laughed lightly, Daddy, let's test Ali, what kind of story did this Snow White tell us? Qinya laughed bitterly and shook her head. Yihua is starting to use that twisted logic again. Donghuang Li tilted her head and pondered for a moment, then said happily, Ali knows the princess doesn't like dwarves, she likes tall, rich and handsome men. Ah. Yihua laughed heartily. Qinya hugged onto Donghuang Li and said tenderly, don't listen to your daddy. But Ali doesn't like the 7 dwarves either. This time Yihua laughed heartily and even Donghuang Baiji laughed helplessly. Donghuang Li could be seen lying on her father's body and listening to her father's heartbeat, then said sweetly, Ali doesn't like tall, rich and handsome men either, Ali only likes daddy. As expected of my daughter, she is deeply favored by me. Donghuang Baiji was very jealous. Why doesn't she like mommy? She is too biased. Ali likes mommy too, Donghuang Li added another sentence. This caused Donghuang Baiji's heart to feel at ease. Qinya rubbed onto her belly. In a few months' time, my child is going to be born and I am a bit nervous right now. Far away at Zijin City by family. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were currently tasting top-quality Thai guanyin. Suddenly an envelope was sent over. Wang Debao stretched out his hand, pinched the envelope, then passed it to his wife with a smile on his face. Bai Cixin placed down the teacup in her hand, then opened the envelope and looked at the latest information. After finished reading, the paper in her hand started burning. Wife, what's the situation? Wang Debao asked curiously while looking at his wife's grave expression. Bai Cixin let out a breath, then said faintly, yesterday Ying family and Voidless Realms started fighting. You are saying that 2 of the 3 big powers started fighting? Wang Debao cried out in surprise. This is a big matter. Bai Cixin nodded her head. How is the situation? Wang Debao asked hurriedly. Not sure. It wasn't easy for Bai Cixin to be able to obtain this kind of information. The losses that the two big powers suffered from the battle were definitely not small. I wonder if the aristocratic families in the north have taken any action? Chapter 262. Are these aristocratic families really not tempted? Right now, Voidless Realm's vitality is definitely greatly damaged, and if all of them were to attack Voidless Realm at the same time, Voidless Realm's strength would definitely be greatly damaged. Wang Debao said confusedly. This kind of opportunity is extremely rare. Debao, you're still underestimating the giants. 1,000-year foundation can't be messed around. The aristocratic families are also afraid. A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. My dear wife is so smart. As he spoke, Wang Debao began to flatter her again. Bai Cixin chuckled. Perhaps the appearance of this unknown force is a good thing. Let's just wait and see. Honey, aren't you worried about the promotion to an aristocratic family? Debao, we will definitely enter the ranks of the aristocratic families. No matter what, we will suppress the Xiao family. At this moment, Bai Cixin appeared to be very confident. The Xiao family's strength had been greatly damaged and the wealthy merchants had left. They had long since fallen short of the requirements of an aristocratic family. Hearing his wife say so, Wang Debao was completely relieved. He suddenly hugged Bai Cixin and said, "We should celebrate in advance. How's the snail seizing kung fu going? Don't worry, my wife. I don't even need to use my hands now. I guarantee that my wife will be satisfied." That's more like it. The Bai family was celebrating in advance, but the Tang family wasn't as happy. Right now, Tang Wushuang was lying on the big bed. His eyes were lifeless and beside him were all his wives. However, right now, Tang Wushuang could only look at them and was unable to touch them in the slightest. Because he had already been uprooted. This was not only a blow to Tang clan, it was also a blow to Tang Wushuang himself. The wives were even more worried. Now that they didn't even have a child, the man was already killed. What was the difference between this and killing them? Quan Anrong comforted him carefully. "Wushuang, technology is so advanced now, we can also do test tube babies." "Yes, Wushuang, don't be sad." Mu Jia also hurriedly comforted him. However, this kind of consolation didn't make Tang Wushuang feel any better. Instead, it made him even angrier, as if it was reminding him that he couldn't have sex with others. Shall we? I'm going to kill you." Tang Wushuang, who was on the bed, suddenly went crazy, and his entire face became distorted. However, when Tang Wushuang moved, his wounds were affected, and the pain caused Tang Wushuang to roll his eyes. How could the wives restrain their husbands? There was nothing they could do. "All of you can leave." Gui Qingren slowly walked in while wearing flip-flops. The girls nodded and quietly left the bedroom. "Master, you must definitely take revenge for Disciple. It is all because of that Xiao Yi that I became like this." Tang Wushuang lied on the bed, and his hands tightly grabbed onto the corner of Gui Qingren's clothes. Gui Qingren silently took out an Alps candy and put it in his mouth. Felt pretty good. "Master has told you before, don't underestimate the enemy, especially the enemy with a good brain. You only have yourself to blame for this." Gui Qingren sat on the chair next to him and turned on his phone to read a novel. Tang Wushuang tightly clenched his fist and after a long time he said, "Master, as long as you help me kill Xiao Yi, I will do anything you want me to do. Only by taking revenge yourself will it feel good. I don't want to deal with a small character like Xiao Yi." "Teacher." Tang Wushuang bitterly begged. "Master has a set of cultivation technique that is very suitable for you. With your current physique, cultivating it will yield twice the results with half the effort." Gui Qingren said faintly. Tang Wushuang's eyes flickered with hope, and without thinking too much he said, "I'll learn. This set of cultivation technique is very special. It is about the same as the Sunflower Treasured Book. If you wish to cultivate this technique, you must first castrate yourself." Gui Qingren paused for a moment and continued, "You have already fulfilled this prerequisite, but this cultivation technique is even more ferocious than the Sunflower Treasured Book. Its name is erotic." Tang Wushuang was a little frightened, but when he thought of Xiao Yi, his brain couldn't think normally. "Master, I'll cultivate it." "Are you sure? Once you cultivate this cultivation technique, your physique and temperament will completely change. Your chest will become bigger, your vocal cords will become more delicate, and your personality will also be the same. You will become a real woman, and your womb will gradually form, and you will even be able to give birth to children. However, your strength will be a few times stronger than now. Even if Xiao Yi has the Xinyuan sword, he won't be a match for you. Become a woman." Struggle flashed past Tang Wushuang's eyes. "Right now, I am neither a human nor a demon. So what if I become a woman? As long as I kill Xiao Yi and exterminate the entire Xiao clan, I will be comfortable. Master, I am sure. Good, as expected of my disciple, you are very courageous. However, don't you want to discuss this matter with the women first? There's no need to discuss. I can decide on my own. Not bad. Now that you know your own decision, Master is gratified. Rest first today. Master will come and teach you tomorrow. Thank you, Master. Gui Qingren walked out of the room and arrived at a secret room. The inside was pitch black and there was only a computer emitting a faint light. In front of the computer, there seemed to be a figure of a person. This person's legs were all chopped off, and his body was soaked in a medicinal vat, and it looked very terrifying. Gui Qingren walked over and took a look. No wonder he stopped updating, he actually bit his tongue to commit suicide. What a pity, looks like I have to find another author to be my gunner. This book is too good. Shao Residence. Today Shao Residence was full of vitality. The servants of the residence were moving back and forth in Shao Residence, as if Shao Residence was holding a banquet. That's right, today was considered as a family banquet, and it was also to celebrate Shao clan's rebirth after the calamity. Xiao Yi's injuries had already healed, and even he himself felt that it was unimaginable. But no matter what, it was a good thing. Looking at his wives, Xiao Yi revealed a rare smile. If only Cindy was still here. But it doesn't matter, I will definitely have a way to revive her. Xiao Yi raised his wine cup and said with a smile, "Come, let's have a toast." The wives stood up with a gentle smile, and as Xiao Yi's son, Xiao Yun also raised his cup of fruit juice. "Big brother Xiao, you have just recovered from a serious illness, drink less." Yu Qi raised her big belly and warned softly. Shu Nan smiled, "Little sister Yu Qi, don't worry, big brother Zhao's injuries have already healed." Under the happy atmosphere, everyone drank this cup of wine. Following that, everyone chatted about a relaxed topic as if they had returned to the past. Xiao Yi himself also seemed relaxed. But Shu Nan was panicking. "Shu Nan, what's wrong?" Xiao Yi asked softly. Shu Nan said in a low voice, "Big brother Xiao, I feel that things are not over yet." "What's wrong?" Xiao Yi's expression sank slightly as he asked softly. "That black shadow healed you, I feel that he has a purpose." Shu Nan said in a deep voice. Xiao Yi nodded, he understood this point, but what purpose? Shu Nan continued, "But I feel that big brother Xiao did not achieve his purpose this time." Just as Shu Nan finished speaking, a black whirlpool appeared in the hall. The women were startled and hurriedly dodged away from the black whirlpool. Yu Qi hurriedly protected Xiao Yun. Death Mage could be seen slowly walking out from the black whirlpool. This time, Death Mage did not bring Sun Fang along. After all, he came to inform Xiao Yun that his honor had given him new instructions. Chapter 263. Xiao Yi was still looking at Death Mage with vigilance. But today was different from the past. Back then Xiao Yi was facing death and had no choice but to beg. But now that he was alive as an immortal emperor, how could he casually kneel? Shu Nan, on the other hand, was much smarter. The lives of her family were in the hands of others. When it was time to bow down, she had to do so. "Brother Xiao." Shu Nan tugged at her husband. Xiao Yi frowned. He was fighting with his dignity. Death Mage didn't say anything and just stood there, seemingly waiting for Xiao Yi to make his own decision. Deciding the life and death of an entire family. Because Yi Hua added an additional condition. His honor has given the order. If Xiao Yi doesn't respect his honor, then there is no need to inform his honor. Exterminate Xiao family. Xiao Yi didn't know that his actions were related to the lives of his wife and son. Dignity or life, which was more important? Xiao Yi had to make a decision. "Brother Xiao." Shu Nan called out again. A woman's sixth sense told her that if her man was disrespectful, the consequences would be unimaginable. After a long time, Xiao Yi sighed and lowered his noble head. The immortal emperor who had been reborn slowly knelt in front of Death Mage. Seeing this, Shu Nan let out a sigh of relief, then immediately knelt down as well. The wives behind him did not know what was going on, but they were not stupid and also knelt down. Even his youngest son, Xiao Yun, also knelt down out of curiosity. Death Mage was a bit disappointed. However, thinking about it, it was normal. Under his honor's great radiance, everyone had no choice but to submit to him. He took out his phone and started typing. The Xiao clan waited quietly. His phone rang with a voice message. "Xiao Yi. Master has ordered all of you to give up the aristocratic family election and wait for the next order." "Yes," Xiao Yi said with difficulty. To think that there would be a day where yours truly would have to kneel in front of someone else. What a great irony. Ding dong. Death Mage's WeChat rang out. Everyone from the Shao clan was shocked. Taking a look at his WeChat, Death Mage opened up his voice chat, and Sun Fang's scolding could be heard from the voice chat. You damned fellow, why aren't you back yet? Do you still want to accompany me to sleep? Everyone in the Shao clan was silent. Death Mage immediately closed the door. When I return, I will properly teach this ugly woman a lesson. She has thrown away my face. Looking at the people from the Shao family, Death Mage felt a bit awkward as he walked into the black whirlpool. After Death Mage left, Shao Yi and the others let out a sigh of relief and slowly stood up. Brother Shao, what is going on? Yu Qi asked hurriedly. The other women were also very confused. Shao Yi sat down and drank while Shu Nan explained the situation to everyone. It turned out that in order to save the Shao family, their man did not hesitate to exchange his life for it. The wives were moved to the point of being in a mess. Brother Shao, it seems like that Black Shadow man is setting up a game of chess. Shu Nan was very worried. Now that the Shao family was involved, they could not get away with it. Shao Yi put down the glass and lightly said, I've thought it through. As long as I can keep you safe, I'll do anything. Shao Yi had indeed thought it through. Only by hugging onto a powerful thigh would he have a chance to survive. In the bedroom on the second floor of the bar. While chatting with Donghuang Baiji, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji fell asleep. While nestling in Yi Hua's embrace, the corner of Qingya's mouth was brimming with a blissful smile. Qingya was definitely having a sweet dream. Right now, Yi Hua was very conflicted. This kind of opportunity is hard to come by. I really want to hug them. In that case, I'll just act stealthily and I'll just touch them. The more Yi Hua thought about it, the more his heart itched. With these two wives, if I can't even touch them, I would rather die than live. Yi Hua lightly caressed their waists and touched their exquisite skin. So comfortable, so comfortable. Being a human is really comfortable, it's much more interesting than being a skeleton. However, caressing their waist was no longer enough to satisfy Yi Hua's appetite. His evil hands had already reached into the wives' clothes. This feeling, this smoothness, it's simply a pleasure to touch my palms. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's skin is of the highest quality. The more I touch it, the more comfortable it feels. The two wives seemed to have sensed it as they let out moans and opened their eyes at the same time. Yi Hua was so frightened that he hurriedly closed his eyes and pretended that nothing had happened. However, his evil hands were still inside the wives' clothes, kneading them. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's faces immediately became red. Their breasts were being assaulted. However, very quickly the two women felt that something was amiss. Wasn't Yi Hua paralyzed? Why is his hand still able to move? Is he still doing bad things? Yi Hua, wake up. Qingya's face became red. This fellow is still grabbing onto my breasts. Donghuang Baiji tightly pressed onto Yi Hua's evil hands, and her heart was extremely itchy. Yi Hua knew that Donghuang Baiji was very sensitive. What's the matter? Yi Hua pretended to open his eyes, and his eyes were filled with doubt. Qingya pouted, look at what you are doing. Yi Hua asked doubtfully, what's the matter? I didn't do anything. Look at where you are putting your hands. Yi Hua looked over and even grabbed onto Donghuang Baiji's hands. Donghuang Baiji immediately let out a moan, and even Qingya was biting onto her lips. Wow, my hands can move, my god. This is so magical. Yi Hua cried out in surprise as he stretched out his hands and took a look. Looking at the two beautiful wives, Yi Hua was extremely touched. Thank you for healing my hands, I believe that I will be able to fully recover in no time. Seeing that Yi Hua's hands were able to move, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji cried tears of joy. They finally saw a trace of hope, and they even forgot that they were taken advantage of by Yi Hua just now. I feel that I can't exert any strength with my hands right now, and I am still in the recovery period. I still need you all to take care of me. Yi Hua said gravely. He was still thinking about the days where he didn't need to use his hands. Of course, the two girls would take good care of him, so they hurriedly nodded in agreement. Qingya, Baiji, from this matter, it can be seen that the two of you have to accompany me more. Perhaps I will be able to recover faster. After finished speaking, Qingya prepared to take action again. The two women hurriedly pressed him down. Qingya said bashfully, Yi Hua, you can't do this. Qingya, thank you for using your bodies to heal me. We should work harder. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji couldn't take it anymore and ran out of the bedroom. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth as he sniffed his palm. So fragrant. Resting his head on the back of his head, Yi Hua was in a good mood as he contacted Wei Chang. How's the investigation going? Your Honor, I was just about to report this matter, but the result is a bit horrifying, Yi Hua laughed lightly. For Wei Chang to say that Yi Hua was horrified, it must definitely be extremely horrifying. Tell me, how scary was it? Those people are exactly the same as us, Wei Chang said in surprise. When he first saw those people, he nearly jumped in fright, especially that skeleton that was wearing a mage robe. That skeleton is exactly the same as His Honor's original body. Yi Hua was also a bit startled. Exactly the same? Could it be that there is a second His Honor? Your Honor, there is indeed someone that looks exactly the same as you, Wei Chang said gravely. Chapter 264. How is their strength? Wei Chang replied respectfully, subordinate has not tried it, but based on my estimation they should be weaker than Death Mage. You mean that Death Mage did not exterminate them? Yi Hua asked faintly. At first, Yi Hua was a bit interested, but when he heard that Death Mage was weaker than Death Mage, he immediately lost his interest. Reporting to Your Honor, it was under the situation of 1 versus 1. That's a bit interesting, it piqued my interest. Is there any movement from the southern powers? Yi Hua asked. According to Sun Fong, some of the southern powers are in a mess, and they are currently begging aristocratic families to help out. Yi Hua sneered, those people really don't have the guts. Other people are scared to this extent just by exterminating a sect. In the past, when we exterminate a city, the reinforcements would immediately arrive. Your Honor, those people exterminated Dry Zen sect in a single night. How would ordinary powers dare to help out? After all, they don't even have an ancient godly item. I understand those aristocratic families are not their match. In the end, a big shot will definitely step out. Tell Sun Fong Ing family not to interfere and let another big shot do it. Right now, both my wife's power and Ing family's power have suffered quite a bit of damage. Ji family naturally cannot let them off easily. I will let those people from the stronghold help me exterminate those people. This should be what humans call killing with a borrowed knife, right? Subordinate understands. I will arrange it right away. After cutting off the connection with Wei Chang, Yi Hua went into deep thought. What was going on with the sudden appearance of a knockoff? Is it intentional or is it a coincidence? In terms of strength, those people are only at the level of Death Mage. This is too strange. Furthermore, they occupy a mountain and wait for others to come and cause trouble. This is exactly the same as what I did back then. After exterminating a city, they would stay behind and wait for others to attack, then kill all of them. What a pleasant surprise. You guys better not get killed by the humans. If not, I will be very disappointed. Right now, the southern aristocratic family, Ding family, was currently holding a meeting regarding the extermination of their sect. All 5 aristocratic families from the south were present. Ding family's family head, Ding Yuan, was among them. Wu family's martial saint. Diao family's Diao Lang. He family's He Tian. Murong family's Murong Ji. The appearance of the 5 aristocratic families was unquestionable. They were all handsome uncles, and each of them had their own style. However, there was no nervousness on their faces. When it came to such matters, it was always the weak who were worried. Because one who possessed an ancient godly item would be able to easily exterminate a sect, and all of their clans possessed an ancient godly item, this matter could not be considered as a crisis, and it could only be considered as a small trouble. Diao Lang played with the matchbox in his hand and said lightly, originally we were going to discuss how to deal with the northern forces today, but a group of people suddenly appeared last night and admitted to what they did. That makes things easier. My Diao family will not shirk our duty. Diao Lang, I'm afraid that's not good. I have some history with that Hai Daisy and he was killed by that group of people. Just leave this revenge to me. Murong Ji lightly knocked on the table, wanting to fight for this operation. Murong Ji, you and Hai Daisy have only met once, but Guang clan's Guang Tianlu is my distant relative. I must take revenge for this. He Tian bellowed, appearing very domineering. The martial saint chuckled and said slowly, distant relatives? He Tian, are you here to be funny? I even said that Sun Yi is my mistress. Enough. Ding Yuan snorted coldly. My son, Ding Yuanwu, has already been missing for several days and he must have been killed. It is very possible that he was killed by them. My Ding family will take this revenge. Ding Yuan glared angrily. His most beloved son was killed, and his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. This revenge was absolutely irreconcilable. The martial saint stroked his temples and said lightly, Ding Yuan, who doesn't know what kind of person that son of yours is? Sooner or later he will be killed and buried. That's right, this excuse of yours is too baseless. You can just randomly accuse others. Perhaps that group of people did not even do it? Diao Lang said disdainfully. He took out a matchbox and lit it, watching it burn to ashes. Murongji paused for a moment, then stood up and said, "Since everyone wants to be so greedy, then let's draw lots. This way it will be fair to everyone." In actuality, the four of them nodded their heads. Getting rid of evil was also one of the merits. If they had the chance to run for the position of a big shot, it would be very useful. Diao Lang took out 5 matchboxes and drew them in different lengths. "Go with the shortest one." The four of them did not say anything. Everyone's strength was about the same, and cheating was easily seen. Soon after, they drew lots one by one. Diao Lang let out a light sigh, then cupped his hands towards Ding Yuan and said, "Ding Yuan, the opportunity for revenge is here." The other 3 shook their heads and sighed. This good luck actually got taken away by Ding Yuan. This is truly disappointing. Ding Yuan clenched his fist and said faintly, "Tomorrow I will hang the heads of those people at my Ding family's toilet." "Congratulations to you first then." He Tian congratulated with a mocking tone. The 5 of them slowly sat down, and the meeting seemed to not have ended yet. "I believe everyone should have heard about what happened yesterday." Diao Lang changed his frivolous expression and said solemnly. The martial saint said faintly, "Yesterday, Ying family fought against Voidless Realm. Although I don't know what the result was, the losses that both sides suffered were definitely not light. Among the 3 big shots, 2 of them got weakened. I wonder if that would cause those people to be dissatisfied and choose someone else?" Murongji asked curiously. Ding Yuan said gravely, "It is said that the 3 big shots were chosen by the people, and of course there is the possibility of them being kicked out. However, it has already been so long, who knows if there is still such a rule." The 4 of them silently nodded their heads. According to the legends, the 3 big shots were chosen by the people 1,000 years ago. Firstly, they were to keep each other in check, secondly, they were to maintain law and order, and thirdly, they were to suppress some arrogant people. However, the ancient godly items in the hands of the 3 big shots were given out by the people. That's right. They were given out by the people. It was just like elementary school students going to class, and the teacher would give them textbooks. However, this was something that happened 1,000 years ago, and it was unknown if it still counted. This time, when the 2 big shots started fighting, no one came out to stop them. However, Donghuang Baiji didn't know about these things. The main reason was because Donghuang Baiji's father passed away too suddenly, and there were some things that she didn't have the time to tell her daughter. Ying Jingshan knew about these things, but he didn't report it to the higher-ups, because even he himself wasn't sure if the ancient godly items still existed or not. It would be even better if the ancient godly items still existed. Then there would only be one above me and not 2. The 5 of them remained silent for a long time. Everyone wanted to climb up, if not, why would they take on such troublesome matters? They wanted merits. After a short while, the other 4 took their leave. Ding Yuan began ordering Ding family to get ready for battle. In order to fight a beautiful battle, to fight a spectacular battle, and to spread out a good reputation, Ding Yuan mobilized everyone in his family. Even his 10 sons, 6 daughters, brothers and so on were brought along. Only the old, weak women and children were left at home. Chapter 265. He believed that tomorrow would be a beautiful day. However, to Wei Chang, today was a terrifying day. I didn't come to Qingbar for a few days, and I can only see that all of the oil paintings that I have collected had all shattered into pieces and fell onto the ground. Those are the genuine works that I have collected. Madame Donghuang is too ferocious. If you are angry, then go and beat up his honor. Why did you use my paintings to vent your anger on me? Originally, I was still thinking of taking a few of my paintings to sell off to pay back my debt, but now, Gigi. However, to Yi Hua, every single day was a good day, especially with the Empress accompanying him to sleep. Tonight, Qingya and Qingya went to spend the night with Yi Hua, and it was the Empress's turn to serve Yi Hua. However, from afternoon onwards, the Empress's face had been starting to turn red, and when night came, her face became even more tender and beautiful. Yi Hua's heart started to itch when he saw that pair of watery beautiful eyes of hers. Each and every one of my women is more alluring than the other. Originally, Yi Hua had planned to touch all over the Empress's body tonight, but in the end, Ali was squeezed in the middle, and this caused Yi Hua's plan to fail once again. However, towards his daughter, Yi Hua didn't have the slightest bit of temper. Dong Huangli was lying in the middle of her parents, and her face was filled with a big smile. Dong Huangli kissed her parents on the left and right side of her body, and Dong Huangli looked extremely happy. Compared to the past, the present life was like that of an immortal. He had his parents by his side and he could even sleep on the same bed at night. He was so happy. Daddy, Mommy, quickly give birth to a younger brother for Ali. Dong Huangli, who was lying in the middle, said happily. Dong Huang Baiji was wearing a set of black silk pajamas today, and that faintly discernible appearance of hers made Yi Hua feel very uncomfortable. Especially that monarch aura that was emitted from between her brows, it made Yi Hua very mad. Dong Huang Baiji turned her body and placed her hand on her forehead, then asked curiously, "Why does Ali want to have a younger brother so much?" "Because right now, Ali is the youngest. After Aunt Qing gives birth to a baby, Ali will be the eldest. However, there are too few of us. Mommy, you have to hurry up and give birth to a baby as well. When the time comes, Ali will be the big sister and Ali will have a group of little brothers." Dong Huangli didn't tell Dong Huangli what her main purpose was. "In actuality, I can bully little brothers. I am so happy." Hearing her daughter's explanation, Dong Huang Baiji smiled tenderly. A smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. "The number of my family members is gradually increasing. This is a good sign. Mama, hurry up and have a baby with Papa." The little fellow said pitifully, causing Dong Huang Baiji to feel extremely shy. "Your daddy only understands the process of giving birth." Seeing that her mommy's face was completely red and not speaking, Dong Huangli began begging her father again, "Daddy, Mommy, you are all not speaking anymore. Ali, the process of giving birth is not for children to watch." Dong Huangli wrinkled her brows, then abruptly stood up. "Then, Ali won't disturb Daddy and Mommy giving birth anymore. Ali and Aunt Qing are going to sleep now." After finished speaking, Dong Huangli put on her slippers and walked out of the house. From the looks of it, Dong Huangli really wants to be bullied by a little brother. "Ali!" Dong Huang Baiji shouted out tenderly. "My daughter is my shield, and now that my shield has run away, Yi Hua is still going to bully me to death. Baiji, come over," Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji's heartbeat quickened as if it was a small electric motor. Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice, "No, hurry up and come over or I'll tell Ali that you're not cooperating with me." Dong Huang Baiji was completely speechless. "To actually use your daughter to threaten me, you are truly shameless." Slowly getting closer. "That's more obedient." Yi Hua was very satisfied, and his evil hands hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji's waist. "Yi Hua," Dong Huang Baiji moaned. "My fire has been ignited by you. What an enchanting empress. Baiji, your figure is still so good." Yi Hua's hands had long slipped into his pajamas. Dong Huang Baiji was already unable to control herself. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. "Baiji, you are still so sensitive." "Stop messing around," Dong Huang Baiji shouted out shyly. "This fellow only ignites the fire and not extinguishes the fire." Dong Huang Baiji felt bitter in her heart. Yi Hua retracted his evil hands and lightly hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji's proud body. "Baiji, when I recover, let's give birth to a younger brother for Ali." Dong Huang Baiji let out a breath of relief. "And as long as you are happy." "Did you hear that? I have already subdued those two women, and after a few days I will automatically recover." Wouldn't that be a bit too fast? It would be bad if they were to see through me. The feeling of sleeping while hugging the Empress is indeed different. If only Qingya is here as well, that would be perfect. The night gradually faded away, and the radiance of dawn arrived. In the sky above Dry Zen sect, there were 3,000 people gathered. On the flag there was the word Ding written in flamboyant calligraphy. All of the Ding family's disciples were wearing armors and looking at Dry Zen sect below them. Right now, there was no difference between Dry Zen sect and how it was in the past. There was no bloodstain, no smoke, and there was only the indistinct aura of death floating in the sky, causing people to feel uncomfortable. Ding Yuan shouted out loudly, "Stabilize your mind. This group of people is indeed formidable. Just this aura of death alone is enough to cause people to feel fear. It is no wonder that they were able to exterminate Dry Zen sect in a single night." Ding Yuan could be seen taking out a 5-colored bell from his body. This was Ding family's ancient godly item, soul-absorbing bell. "Everyone in the sect, listen up. You have already been surrounded. If you are sensible, then put down your weapons and come out with your hands behind your head. I will let you have an intact corpse." Ding Yuan shouted towards Dry Zen sect. However, the sect was still as quiet as before, as if there was not a single person in the sect. Ding Yuan's eldest son took a step forward and said in a low voice, "Family head, we can attack forcefully." Ding Yuan remained silent for a moment, then ordered, "Ding Hui, bring 1,000 people to probe and attack." "Yes." Ding Hui waved his hand, and thousands of people followed Ding Hui and descended into Dry Zen sect. Everyone was very careful, fearing that they might fall into a trap. However, there were no traps or ambushes. Upon seeing this, Ding Yuan ordered everyone to attack together. Instantly, the sounds of killing rang out in the valley, and the sounds were deafening. Logically speaking, such sounds of killing would definitely be accompanied by the sounds of weapons clashing. However, there were only sounds of killing and there were no other sounds. The Ding family effortlessly conquered the Dry Zen sect. Sect head, we won. It was unknown who shouted out, but the entire Ding family started cheering and waving the large flag in their hands. A trace of a smile appeared on Ding Yuan's face. However, this is too easy, right? Does this Dry Zen sect not have anyone else? However, Ding Yuan still didn't know how many people had exterminated Dry Zen sect, and he still thought that it was a large army of 100 people. Hiss! The two large mahogany doors of the palace were slowly opened, and a man could be seen wearing a nightgown. His hair was fluffy and there were even eye bags on his forehead. It's still early in the morning, why are you making so much noise? Are you not letting me sleep? Greed took out a gold-rimmed spectacle from the pocket of his nightgown, then wiped it and wore it. Everyone from Ding family looked towards Greed. Why is there only one person? Ding Yuan asked, Your Excellency, who are you? Chapter 266. As soon as he said that, everyone became vigilant and pointed their swords at Greed. You are the one who destroyed the sect? Ding Yuan shouted furiously as he raised the soul-sucking bell in his hand. The corner of Greed's mouth raised into a clever arc. He smiled and said, Don't be so exaggerated. I just killed a few people for entertainment. How dare you? Don't be presumptuous. Ding Yuan immediately shook the soul-sucking bell in his hand. The five-colored light drifted out along with the sound of the bell and attacked Greed with a strange sound. Achio. Greed suddenly sneezed and said lightly, This mountain is quite cold. Everyone looked on stupidly. The attack of an ancient godly item was actually blown away by a single sneeze. How was this possible? Greed stretched out his hand and grasped the soul-sucking bell in Ding Yuan's hand. This bell can be used to tease dogs, but it's still lacking when it comes to killing people. With a light grip, the Ding clan's ancient godly item exploded. The enormous energy produced overturned all the members of the Ding clan, and they were instantly thrown off their feet. Ding Yuan was already stupefied. The ancient godly item was actually crushed by the other party. Am I seeing things? How is this possible? Impossible. Silence everyone. This is a smokescreen. Ding Yuan shouted loudly. As expected, the team quietened down. You madman. You want to scare off my Ding clan with a mere smokescreen? Hand over your life. Greed yawned and said with a smile, You humans just like to deceive others. They haven't woken up yet. I'll deal with your group first. You can all end yourselves. After saying that, he turned around and entered the hall, preparing to go back to sleep. Kill yourself. These 4 words reverberated in everyone's ears, but there was no change in their expressions. Among the Ding clan disciples, one of them picked up a large saber and stabbed it toward himself. Not only did he not die from the first strike, he even pulled out the saber and stabbed a second time. Everyone don't panic. This is just a smokescreen. Ding Yuan shook his head and shouted. His eldest son pulled out his sword and slashed it across his neck. Blood splattered everywhere. Ding Yuan's face was covered with his son's blood. This is a smokescreen. Everyone stay calm. I stabbed myself. Feels so good. Why can't I stab myself to death? Let's do it a few more times. Just like that, Ding Yuan watched as everyone committed suicide. His 10 sons all fell to the ground, and in less than 10 minutes' time, all of the Ding clan's descendants had fallen into a pool of blood. There was a thick smell of blood in the air. The pungent smell made people want to vomit, but there was no pain on everyone's face. Instead, there was a smile of relief. Smokescreen, smokescreen. Ding Yuan mumbled. He didn't dare to believe everything that was happening in front of him. Greed had only used the simplest hypnosis, but at Ding Yuan's level, low-level hypnosis was useless. Therefore, among the thousands of people present, he was the only one who didn't get hypnotized. Clang. Ding Yuan pulled out his sword and muttered, It's all a smokescreen, it's all a smokescreen, it's all fake, Poochie. He stabbed himself in the heart with a backhand slash. The tall and big figure gradually fell onto the ground, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with the figures of his sons and he was still mumbling, Smokescreen, smokescreen. These are all smokescreen. In an instant, the Ding clan, one of the 5 great clans of the south, was completely annihilated. The enemy did see them, but they didn't even touch the corner of the enemy's clothes. The other 4 great clans should be rejoicing that they didn't draw the lottery of death. This was basically no different from sending themselves to death. Ding clan still wanted to come and snatch the merit, and in the end, even in death, they didn't believe what was happening in front of them. There were a few groups of people that were hiding in the dark and observing the situation. When they saw that all of Ding clan's people were mutilating themselves, they were so scared that their souls almost floated away. Only after a long while did they come back to their senses and hurriedly spread the news of Ding clan's people being annihilated. Even the aristocratic clans were unable to do anything. The big shots will definitely have to take action. Sure enough, when this news spread out, the entire cultivation world went crazy, and the cultivation world even sank into waves of panic. Ding clan that possessed an ancient godly item was annihilated just like that. Not a single person was left alive, and the enemy was only one person. My God, how did that person do it? He isn't a human at all, he is a demon. When the other 4 great clans received this news, all of them had a stupefied look on their faces. Soon after, they patted on their chest. It was fortunate that they didn't draw the lottery, if not, the one that died would be them. Following that, the remaining 4 great clans would once again hold a meeting, and it was definitely impossible for them to attend. After discussing, the result was that the big shots would be sent out. We aristocratic clans are not a match for them. Within the bedroom on the 2nd floor of Leisure Bar, Donghuang Baiji's spotlessly white arms were placed onto Yihua's chest, and she was tightly nestled within Yihua's arms. To Donghuang Baiji, it had been a very long time since she had slept so peacefully. An urgent jade slip was sent over, causing Donghuang Baiji to open her hazy beautiful eyes. Seeing that Yihua still hadn't woken up, Donghuang Baiji stealthily kissed him, then checked the jade slip that was sent over. Slowly, Donghuang Baiji's expression sunk. Ding clan's people were just annihilated. The enemy was only one person. An entire family was annihilated by a single person. How is this possible? The strength of the families that were chosen are all very strong, especially those few family heads, with the assistance of an ancient godly item. How is it possible for the family to be annihilated? And it was so fast. Baiji, what's wrong? Yihua asked faintly. Just now, he had also received Wei Chang's message. Well done. But that group of fools really doesn't know how to act. If my main body was there, I would have definitely put on a good act today, and it would have been very difficult for us to win. Everyone would have been heavily injured, and only then would those humans attack us together. And not like this, where a single person intimidated everyone, and Yihua dared to guarantee that even the big shots wouldn't dare to make a move. The knockoff is truly an idiot. However, thinking back to how I was in the past, I seem to be really like this. As expected, I was very stupid in the past. Yihua, just now, Ding clan's people were annihilated, and the enemy only dispatched a single person. Donghuang Baiji said gravely, and worry could be seen flashing past her beautiful eyes. Yihua pulled Donghuang Baiji into his embrace and said faintly, "What does it have to do with you?" "Of course it has to do with me. The role of the 3 big shots is to maintain public order." Pinching onto the Empress's cheek, Yihua said gravely, "Baiji, your mission is to be a good wife and a good mother." "Yihua, be serious. Did you forget what you should do when you wake up in the morning?" Yihua reminded. Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes at Yihua, then gave him a sweet kiss. Comfortable. After taking liberties with the Empress, Yihua let go of her and said calmly, "This is the South's matter, and it doesn't belong to the North's matter." Donghuang Baiji, who was blushing, said gravely, "What if that group of people were to come to the North? Could it be that you want to go there?" Yihua asked gravely. Donghuang Baiji nodded her head. "If the South is helpless, I can only go there." "You are not allowed." Yihua shouted out coldly. "Why do you, the Empress, still have the ambition to maintain the world's peace? Aren't you going against me? Furthermore, with that little bit of ability of yours, you aren't even a match for that group of people." Donghuang Baiji pouted her small mouth, then pulled onto her husband's hand and shook it. "Yihua, this is my job, you should support me." Chapter 267. Why not? Qingya could be seen bringing Donghuang Li into the bedroom. Donghuang Li immediately jumped onto the bed, then kissed onto her father's cheek. "Daddy, wake up." Soon after, Qingya walked over and gave Yihua a sweet kiss. This caused Yihua to feel extremely pleased. While Yihua was playing with Ali, Donghuang Baiji told Qingya about what happened. Qingya, who had awakened her bloodline, had the consciousness to protect the safety of humans. When encountering this kind of situation, she was even more duty-bound. Baiji, when the time comes, I will accompany you. Qinya smiled tenderly. Qinya, thank you. Donghuang Baiji was very grateful towards Qinya, and her impression of Donghuang Baiji rose to another level. What are you all going for? Who allowed you all to go? Yihua shouted out gravely. You all have only been obedient for a few days and yet you all are starting to jump around again. Can you intervene in such a matter? What does it have to do with you if other people are killing well? Donghuang Baiji pulled onto Qinya's hand, hinting Qinya to go and talk to Qinya. After all, in the eyes of the two women, what Yihua was doing was an expression of concern. Qinya said tenderly, Yihua, don't worry, we will be able to settle it. What are you talking about? Don't you know it's very dangerous? In any case, you are not allowed to go. Yihua said gravely. Right now, Qinya has become stronger, but she does not have any battle experience at all. Thus, even if she were to go to the battle arena, it would be a waste of her time. Dong Huangli also started speaking out. What Daddy said is right, Mommy and Aunt Qing are both not allowed to go. Look, even Ali is more sensible than you. Dong Huang Baiji smiled helplessly. Yihua, it's not like I'm saying that I'm going to head over there right now. I'll think about it after they take a step further. That's more like it. Help me up. We're going out for breakfast today. There's a good wonton shop. Ali, wake Papa up. Ali is the most obedient. Yihua rubbed onto his daughter's head, then looked at the two women. Do you think that the two of you are Ultraman rushing to wherever there is danger? Qinya and Donghuang Baiji shook their heads helplessly. Her temper is still as bad as ever. Only we are able to endure it. Two such women were pushing a man in a wheelchair out with a child. This combination once again blinded everyone's eyes. Right now, regardless of whether it was men or women, young or old, everyone was looking at Qinya and Donghuang Baiji, and no one was looking at Yihua anymore. In fact, the gazes that little Ali received were even more than Yihua. This caused Yihua to be speechless. In the future, I might as well just stay at home. After all, my limelight has already been snatched away by them. However, this is also giving me face. If I bring a woman like this out, I will definitely have face. What is there to look at? If you look any longer, kill them all. Your Honor. Your subordinate has something to report. Wei Chang's voice resounded in his mind. Those people are making a move? Wei Chang said gravely, Ying family, according to His Honor's orders, Ying family didn't come out this time, but Ji family also found an excuse to not come out. This Ji family is quite smart. They know that they aren't a match for me. Yihua sneered in his heart. This Ji family is much smarter than I thought. However, Ji family is still going to be exterminated. There is Ying family in the south and there is Voidless Realm in the north. There was no point in keeping it. Your Honor, this Ji family doesn't act according to common sense. Should we make a move and give them a warning? Or exterminate them? Wei Chang asked curiously. Yihua pondered for a moment, then said faintly, let go of this Ji family first. Rather than us making a move against them, we might as well let them do it themselves. This kind of Ji family that retreats without putting up a fight will definitely incur hatred from others. Your subordinate understands Your Honor's meaning. Right now, I will have Sun Fang spread the news and ruin Ji family's reputation. That's right. Wei Chang asked once again, how are we going to deal with those counterfeits? Let's see what they are going to do next first. Yes. Right now, in Ji family's courtyard, more than 10 important members of Ji family were sitting inside and having a meeting. The meeting this time was regarding the extermination of Ji family. Ji family's family head was wearing a gorgeous robe, which gave off a unique aura. Ji family's family head was wearing a gorgeous robe, and his facial features were also very imposing. This person's name was Ji Zizhen. Sitting on the left and right side of the family head were his two younger brothers. The one on the left was tall and mighty, and his name was Ji Ji, the second son of Ji family. The one on the right was the third son, and his name was Ji Teng. Just like Ji Ji, he was also a tall and sturdy man. Only the eldest son, Ji Zizhen, had a handsome appearance, which was truly strange. As for the others, they were all elders of Ji family, and Ji Zizhen didn't put them in his eyes at all. After all of them were people who already have one foot in the coffin. Family head, the four big families are requesting for help. We cannot cower away from them, if not, we will become a laughingstock for others. One of the elders said. At a time like this, Ji family can only step forward. If not, why would the four big families submit to us? Ji Ji laughed loudly. Elder, what you said is too serious. Us not stepping forward is the absolute truth. What second brother said is right. Right now, Voidless Realm and Ying family's vitality is greatly damaged, and it is precisely the time for our Ji family to rise up. If our foundation is damaged because of this kind of thing, wouldn't we be losing a great opportunity? Ji Ting said in disdain. Suppressing the other two big families is the most important thing. The elder ignored the other elder's advice and said, "Family head, the situation right now is different. Dry Zen sect was exterminated, and Ding family is following closely behind. Ying family also said that their vitality is greatly damaged, and it isn't suitable for them to move out. Right now this task has fallen onto our shoulders. If family head doesn't step forward, it will be very hard for us to convince others." Gigi laughed lightly. "Elder, you are already old and you are already afraid of everything. Why would my Ji family be afraid of those small fries? I don't think they dare to do anything." Ji Zizhen, who had been silent all this while, said faintly, "I have already rejected them. There is no need to talk about this matter anymore because there is no meaning to it." Family head. "Elder, you should go back home and rest. The sun is very strong today, be careful not to get a heat stroke." Ji Zizhen said with concern. However, it was clear that he wanted to let go of this elder. The elder waved his hand. "This Ji family is going to be defeated by these three brothers sooner or later." After remaining silent for a long time, the third brother Ji Ting gradually emitted out a murderous aura. "Big brother. It is rumored that someone should have come to stop the battle between Ying family and Voidless Realm, but that person didn't appear. It is possible that those people disappeared, so there is no need for us to act according to the rules. Third brother. Wait a bit more. If no one appears within half a month, we will annex Ying family. In the south we only need one big family. As for Voidless Realm in the north, after we exterminate Ying family, we will exterminate them. And unify the cultivation world." Ji Zizhen said very indifferently, as if this matter was within his reach. However, the murderous aura within Ji Zizhen's eyes was real. Everyone stood up, then cupped their hands and shouted out, "Unify the cultivation world." The corner of Ji Zizhen's mouth curved up into a trace of an arc. Right now Yi Hua was currently leading his family of 4 to eat FJ wontons. "Boss, give me another big bowl of wontons," Yi Hua shouted out faintly. "This amount of wontons is too little, humans are just stingy." However, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were eating very elegantly, and just looking at them was a kind of enjoyment. "Boss, Ali wants a big bowl of wontons too." Donghuang Li still hasn't learned how to eat elegantly, and she was eating exactly the same as her father. "All right." Chapter 268. Handsome, it's a small business. I'll help you add some points. The boss was also a straightforward person, mainly for the sake of the children and of course for the sake of the two beautiful women. Donghuang Baiji took out a tissue and helped her daughter wipe off the soup on the corner of her mouth. Ali, when a girl eats, she must chew her food carefully and swallow it slowly. But if Ali wants to learn from mommy, she will need to eat for at least half an hour. Donghuang Li took a look and saw that both she and her daddy had already eaten a bowl of rice, and they have yet to even finish half of the bowl. Both of them were women who stood in the clouds. When they were out, they had to pay attention to their image. How could they mess around like they were at home? Yi Hua admired this point of hers. "As my woman, not only is she able to get on the bed, she is also able to cook, and when I bring her out, she is also able to shine brightly in all directions." Ali is still young. When he grows up, he will naturally be embarrassed to eat like this. On the other hand, Yi Hua didn't mind at all. "My daughter is naturally not a flower vase, and in the future my daughter is going to follow me to kill enemies. If she were to act coy while eating a meal, how would she look? Coming, be careful, it's hot." The boss walked over with 2 bowls of big dumplings. Now that he could move his hands, he couldn't enjoy their considerate service. Although he was a little disappointed, at least he could touch them, and that was quite satisfying. Donghuang Baiji once again received the jade letter from Voidless Realm and let out a light sigh. "What happened?" Qingye asked concernedly. "The Ying family is recuperating in the name of not participating in the battle. This is understandable, but this Ji family is actually avoiding the battle. This is too much." Donghuang Baiji was incomparably furious. As a big shot of the south, such a big matter had actually happened, and they actually did not pay any attention to it. This is simply too infuriating. Yi Hua did not make a sound. Seems like Wei Chang and the others have done a pretty good job in gathering information. Right now they are even slightly ahead of us. I'm afraid that Ji family has ulterior motives, right? Baiji, you need to be a bit more careful. Qingye was very concerned. Right now, everyone was a family and it was necessary to be concerned for Baiji. Donghuang Baiji let out a heavy sigh, and I will be careful. Since the two of them have decided to wash their hands of this matter, you don't have to bother about this matter as well, lest you fall into their trap. Yi Hua instructed faintly. Donghuang Li said with a childish voice, Mommy, you have to listen to Daddy. Okay, Mama will listen to Papa. Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. She knew that they were forcing her to act. If she were to really act, she would be falling into their trap. Donghuang Baiji was not a fool. Yi Hua felt much more at ease. As long as Donghuang Baiji doesn't interfere, everything will still be under my control. Although my days are comfortable, I still need to have some entertainment activities. As the head of the family, Yi Hua said faintly, Today we will accompany Ali to have some fun. Shopping malls, amusement parks, we will go to all of them. Wow, that's great. Thank you, Papa. Donghuang Li immediately became excited, and she finished the rest of the wontons in a few bites. Donghuang Li couldn't wait to fly over and play with the wontons right now. Of course, the two women would not refuse such a thing. While playing with the children, wasn't it also a date? After all, Donghuang Baiji had never gone out with Yi Hua before. The family of four first arrived at the biggest amusement park in Long City, Fanti. Along the way, the little fellow was extremely excited. When he reached the gate, he couldn't control himself anymore. He ran all over the place as if he had been injected with stimulants. Donghuang Baiji had no choice but to carry her daughter in her embrace, while Qinya was responsible for pushing Yi Hua. This was also Yi Hua's first time coming to an amusement park. This human sure knows how to play. But, is that roller coaster really that exciting? The screams are so loud. Daddy, Mommy, Ali wants to sit on the roller coaster. Donghuang Li shouted while being carried by her mother. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly, Ali is still not tall enough right now, others won't let Ali sit on the roller coaster. Ali wants to play. Daddy, you can talk to those uncles. Seeing that begging her mother was useless, Ali looked towards her father for help. Yi Hua smoked a cigarette and said with a light smile, Ali, there are some rules that you have to follow, do you understand? Donghuang Li pouted her small mouth. I am angry now and you all can't even coax me properly. Ali, look, there is ice cream for sale. Donghuang Li, who was about to throw a tantrum just a moment ago, immediately cheered, Mommy, I want to eat. All right, let's go and buy it together. Looking at Donghuang Baiji, who was carrying his daughter to buy ice cream, Yi Hua held onto Qinya's small hand. What's wrong? Are you envious? Of course not. Qinya laughed. In a few months' time, you are going to become a mommy too, you have to prepare yourself. Yi Hua said warmly. Qinya laughed lightly. I have already prepared myself. If it is a mischievous little thing, you will be in for a treat. Aha, I like mischievous little things. In the future, you can follow me to conquer the world. Yi Hua laughed heartily. His heroism immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding people. However, very quickly the attention of the surrounding people fell onto Qinya. What a beautiful woman. Qinya rolled her eyes at her husband. Don't lead my child astray. In the future, he will either be a scientist or a doctor. What kind of future is there for him to have? In the future, our family will stand at the peak of the universe and look down on the world. Stop smoking, you're acting cool after smoking syndrome is back. Qinya threw the cigarette that was in Yi Hua's mouth into the trash can. Daddy, Aunt Qing, here is your ice cream. Qinya pinched onto Donghuang Li's tender little face. Ali is so obedient. Receiving the praise of an adult, Donghuang Li became even happier. On the other hand, Yi Hua was paying attention to his wives who were eating ice cream. He was either licking the ice cream or sucking the ice cream into his mouth. If that's the case, it should be very pleasurable, right? You're Qinya? A voice could be heard, and Yi Hua turned his head around to take a look. It was a person who could barely be considered as a beauty. Looking at the person who suddenly appeared, Qinya wrinkled her brows and cried out in surprise, You are Yun Lan. Qinya, it has been 10 years since we last met and I almost couldn't recognize you. You are too beautiful. Yun Lan exclaimed in admiration. At first he didn't believe it, but now that he had confirmed it, he truly envied Qinya. Qinya also appeared to be very polite. You're flattering me, you're still the same, there's not much of a change in you. The two of them were middle school classmates. At that time, Qing family was still developing in Long City, and only in recent years did Qing family move to Zijin City to develop. Qinya studied in Long City during her middle school and high school. This is? Yun Lan looked towards Yi Hua and asked. Yun Lan thought to herself, this man's appearance is quite handsome. it's just that it's a pity. He's my husband Yihua. Qinya appeared to be very gentle and didn't feel embarrassed at all. Hello. Yunlan extended his hand and smiled. If it was according to Yihua's personality in the past, he definitely wouldn't have extended his hand out. But right now Yihua was giving Qinya face. After extending his hand out and lightly shaking Qinya's hand, Yihua immediately retracted his hand back, as if there were germs on other people's hands. Yunlan felt that this man's attitude is really cold and detached. Qinya is truly pitiful. She is rich and has such a good appearance, yet she actually likes this kind of arrogant and conceited man. Chapter 269. This is? Yunlan asked curiously. This woman is too long-winded. I really want to kick her away. My wife. Yihua said faintly. Yunlan was surprised that this man had 2 wives, but she soon got used to it. It wasn't like she hadn't seen it before. It was just that it was a pity that such 2 beauties were paired with this cold man in a wheelchair. In actuality, Donghuang Baiji's personality was very similar to Yihua's. If there was an outsider present, Donghuang Baiji's empress-like aura would be faintly discernible. Qinya, it's going to be noon soon, let's have a meal together. Qiu Yen is also here, let's have a good chat about the old days. Yunlan sorted out his feelings. This is someone else's family matter, it's best for me not to get involved in it. Qiu Yen is here too? Qinya said with a smile. I remember that when I was in junior high school my relationship with Qiu Yen was pretty good. Just that, when I was in senior high school Qiu Yen went to another city to study. That's right, she found a very formidable husband, this is too interesting. Yunlan began sharing this interesting story with Qinya. Qinya asked curiously, what about you? Me. That's all. That guy went to buy water for me. Qinya also wanted to reminisce about the old days with her old classmate, but she had to ask for Yihua's opinion first. Yihua, let's go and have a meal together. Originally it was time for the family of 4 to play together, and Yihua actually didn't want other people to join in. However, when he saw that Qinya wanted to go, Yihua didn't oppose her. He didn't say anything and just nodded. Seeing Yihua's actions, Yunlan felt that this man is really awesome. If he were to smoke a stick of cigarette he would definitely be able to act cool. Yihua silently took out a stick of cigarette and lit it. Yunlan was speechless. Yunlan, I've been looking for you for a long time. 2 men and a woman could be seen walking over from the side. In Yihua's eyes, the woman could be counted as an ordinary beauty. After all, he had been looking at Qinya and Donghuang Baiji every single day. Of course, these ordinary beauties were considered goddesses in the eyes of ordinary people. As for the other 2 men he could just mindlessly ignore them. There was nothing to see. Qinya. One of the women cried out in surprise. She immediately ran over and pulled Qinya's delicate hand. Yihua's brows wrinkled. You even dare to touch my woman, are you tired of living? Qiu Yen, long time no see. Qinya smiled faintly. She was very happy in her heart. Just that Yihua was very unhappy. Later on I'm going to properly teach Qinya a lesson. Other than me and the child, I'm not allowed to touch anyone else. However, I have to talk to Donghuang Baiji right now. Baiji. What's wrong? Donghuang Baiji slightly bent her body and asked curiously. Yihua said unhappily, look at what mistake Qinya has committed. Her husband asked a question and he seemed unhappy. Donghuang Baiji took a look at Qinya. She didn't seem to have done anything wrong, why did she get angry? Mommy, Ali knows. Donghuang Li raised her hand and shouted out. Ali, you are not allowed to tell Mommy. Yihua reminded. Donghuang Li sighed. Mommy, Ali can't help you anymore. What did Qinya do wrong? He really couldn't tell. Is it because Qinya was talking to her old classmate and neglected you? Donghuang Baiji felt that this was the case. If not, there was nothing for her to be angry about. Yihua shook his head. Would I get angry because of this kind of thing? Something else. Mommy, Ali will definitely give you a hint. Aunt Qing's hand. Donghuang Li reminded her mother in a low voice. Donghuang Baiji was stupefied. It couldn't be because Qinya's hand was held by that girl, right? That's right, Baiji, other than me and the child, you are not allowed to touch anyone else, not even women. Donghuang Baiji giggled, immediately becoming incomparably beautiful. A lot of people looked at Donghuang Baiji. She is too beautiful. This Yihua is too stingy, he is not even allowed to touch women. Alright, I promise you. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. She was very obedient. That's more like it. Look at Qinya, she has already held onto my hand for so long, Yet she still isn't letting go. Yihua said gravely. Qin Tsong was Yunlan's husband, and the other man was called Tang Han, Qiu Yan's husband. When the two men saw Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, the surprised expression on their faces was very on point. This was also very normal. If there was any man who didn't exclaim in surprise upon seeing this, that man would definitely be gay. Both sides introduced one by one. Yihua and Donghuang Baiji were still the same, they only nodded their heads and didn't say anything. On the other hand, Qingya and her two old classmates were talking and laughing. I, the Supreme Overlord, am very angry right now. Daddy, Ali won't make you angry in the future. Dong Huangli sat on her father's body and said quietly. Towards his daughter, Yihua was completely at ease. Donghuang Baiji was also relatively at ease. After all, her identity was still that of an empress, and she still had the aura that she should have. Qingya was very worried about Donghuang Baiji. In the future, I will have to slowly train Donghuang Baiji. The few came to the amusement park's restaurant and asked for a private room to eat together. Sitting at the dining table, Qingya and her old classmates were chatting happily, while the others were just listening to them. The atmosphere was actually very awkward. After chatting about the past, it was time to talk about the present. Qiu Yan could be heard pulling her man and began showing off. Qingya, my family's Tang Han is preparing to establish his own family this year, and I have already submitted all the evaluation results. If there are no accidents, my family will become Tang family next year, and when the time comes, I will be able to obtain a lot of resources. Tang Han smiled, appearing very calm. Qin Tsong, who was at the side, was the same as well. Yun Lan also started to show off his manhood. Mai Tsong has also submitted an application. If he succeeds, he can also become the patriarch next year. Qin Tsong felt very awkward. When he was with these women, they would either flaunt their brands or flaunt their men. In any case, they would just compete. Qingya, your luck is really good. Qin family has already taken root in Zijin City. That's right, we are still just a small family in Long'an City. Qingya smiled and didn't say anything. Why did the conversation suddenly change? What's there to compare? Yun Lan softly sighed and slowly said, actually, my man is quite pitiful. He was abandoned since he was young. Through his own hard work, he managed to climb up step by step to resist the evil forces in his family. It wasn't easy for him to have his current achievements. I'm really too lucky. Yeah, my Tang Han is the same. He was looked down upon by his family since he was young. After he came back from the army, a few of his brothers wanted to kill him. Luckily, my Tang Han is strong enough to get rid of all of them. That's why he's like this now. Qiu Yan also spoke with assurance. As she spoke, she even cried. She really felt sorry for her man. Yihua and Donghuang Li's expressions were a bit strange. Isn't this king competition? I, the Supreme Overlord, am also very miserable. Qingya, tell me about it too. I, the Supreme Overlord, crawled out from the ground and killed everyone I saw. I lived in fear every single day, and I didn't dare to relax even a little bit. From then on, I started killing people and all kinds of viciousness, and that's why I, the Supreme Overlord, am able to have my current achievements. Chapter 270. However, the two men were a little embarrassed. Their wives loved to show off. Qingya, do you have any acquaintances? Perhaps we can confirm it sooner? Yun Lan asked curiously. Actually, even if he applied, he might be rejected. After all, it was very difficult to apply for a family. What he had just said was a boastful agreement. Donghuang Baiji was only in charge of the aristocratic family's election. In the end, she only needed to take a look at the election and then sign her name. But for others, this signature was an earth-shattering change. Qingya said tenderly, I really don't know this person. Yihua let out a breath. Qingya, why are you being so low-key? You should have just said that I, the Supreme Overlord, am capable. With just a word from me, I can make them big shots to play with. Of course, with just a word from me, I can also exterminate their entire race. Yun Lan and Qiu Yan didn't just simply reminisce about the past. They knew that Qingya's family was a bit powerful, and it was normal for Yun Lan to want to help her husband. Yun Lan and Qiu Yan let out a light sigh. Originally, we thought that Qingya would be of some help. It is said that it is not safe right now. Qingya, you must be a bit more careful. Although he was unable to help Qingya, Yun Lan still reminded Qingya. Qingya was very puzzled. How did they know about these things? Logically speaking, this kind of thing should be confidential. What's wrong? Qingya asked. Qiu Yan paused for a moment and said in a deep voice, we heard that some people have come recently, causing those families to be on tenterhooks. Then why are you still trying to squeeze in? Can't you just live a good life? Qingye was also persuading Yihua. The waters in this circle were too deep. If one were to be even slightly careless, one would invite a fatal disaster upon oneself. That's right, Yihua is an expert. Yunlan smiled and said, isn't there a chance now? After all, once you enter this circle, there are a lot of resources that you can use. It's not that easy to be the patriarch, Yihua suddenly said. This caused everyone that was sitting at the table to slightly go into a daze, especially Qingye's classmates and those two men. What? Yunlan asked curiously. Yihua said indifferently, among the family heads that I have seen before, those family heads all have groups of wives and concubines. Wang Debao, I'm innocent. Qin Song and Tang Han were startled. You already have 2 wives and we also want 2. You actually dare to undermine us? How hateful. As expected, the 2 women frowned when they heard this. Just take that, what is it called? Qingye, tell me about it. Qingye rolled her eyes at Yihua. Her eyes were extremely charming, causing Yihua's heart to itch once again. Now that I think about it, that Tang Wushuang has 7 to 8 wives, and that Xiaoyi seems to have 5 to 6 wives as well. Yihua's tone seemed as if he was talking about a salted fish. Seeing that the expression on the 2 women's faces was a bit bad, Yihua said faintly, the head of a family still has to bear the risk, and it is possible that one day your corpse might end up lying on the streets. The entertainment circle is very chaotic, it is most suitable for you to be an ordinary person. This was also because Yihua was giving Qingye face that he spoke out to persuade Qingye to not get involved in his plans in the future. If that were to happen, Qingye would really die without a complete corpse. What Yihua said is right. Don't look at how those family heads appear to be extremely glorious on the surface. In reality, they are always on tenterhooks all day long. Have you heard of Ding family? Qingye said gravely. This could be counted as a warning to her old classmate. The 4 shook their heads. They had never heard of the Ding clan. Have you heard of aristocratic families? The 4 of them shook their heads again. Qingye said faintly, aristocratic families are above aristocratic families, and Ding family is one of the 5 aristocratic families. Today Ding family was exterminated. The 4 of them were immediately stupefied. Right now, we haven't even figured out which aristocratic families are, and an existence that is even more formidable than the aristocratic families just jumped out and got exterminated. If that is the case, wouldn't the ordinary aristocratic families be even more miserable? Don't leak out this matter, if not, it will bring about unnecessary trouble. Qingye warned once again. The 4 hurriedly nodded their heads. Exterminated? I don't even dare to think about it. Qingye, your husband he? Yunlan asked gravely. Qingye let out a light sigh. There are even stronger existences above aristocratic families. Yihua was injured during the battle with them. The 4 of them looked at Yihua dumbfoundedly. I originally thought that aristocratic families are already very formidable, but it turns out that there are still people above aristocratic families. And this man who is sitting on a wheelchair was actually able to fight with them and not die. From this, it can be seen just how terrifying his strength is. Towards this kind of warning, we definitely have to listen to it. The 4 of them could be seen standing up and saying to Yihua, thank you for telling us all these, we will never forget it in our lives. Yihua laughed bitterly in his heart. In the past, I specialized in killing people and now I am even advising people. There is nothing bad about being an ordinary person. At the very least, with your current conditions, you will be able to sit back and relax. Don't think about anything else. Yihua said lightly. From this, it could be seen that the change in Yihua was quite big. Perhaps this is the power of love. Of course, this change wasn't complete. Yihua still didn't have a good impression of humans, but it was still much better than before. Hearing what Yihua said, the 4 of them silently nodded their heads. As for how they are going to choose, that will be their own matter. However, in the end, humans will never be satisfied with their current situation. They will want to climb as high as they can, even if it means that their bodies will be smashed into pieces. Perhaps, a few years later, Yihua will look at their corpses and say these words. After the meal, the 4 of them left. Yihua continued to bring his wife and children to play in the amusement park. Qingye, come over. What's the matter? Do you want to pee? Hold it in, I will pee for you when we get back. Yihua, tell me what mistake you made today, quickly admit your mistake. Yihua reprimanded with a stern look on his face. Donghuang Baiji carried on to Donghuang Li, who was sleeping soundly, and looked at Yihua with a smile on her face. I don't know why, but I just like seeing Yihua reprimand people. Yihua's appearance is just like a child. Qingye was confused and mumbled, I didn't do anything wrong today. My lord, which part of me is not happy with you? I will change, okay? As my wife, other than me and our children, no one else can touch you. Qingya recalled, wasn't it just a girl holding my hand for a bit? He was indeed the vinegar king of the cultivation world. Okay. I promise to obey my husband's request in the future. Yi Hua was very satisfied with this attitude of his. However, he still had to ask a few questions. Qingya, in the future if I meet a female classmate, how should I greet her? Yi Hua asked gravely. Qingya was startled and said hurriedly, just smile. Wrong. I can't even go and see my female classmates. Yi Hua raised his hand and smacked onto Qingya's little butt. Fortunately no one saw it. Qingya pouted her small mouth, looking very lovely and pitiful. What if I get angry in the future? Yi Hua asked again. Qingya pondered for a moment, then said hesitantly, I'm coaxing you. Yi Hua raised his hand and clapped. Wrong. You shouldn't have made me angry in the first place. Donghuang Baiji immediately noted down Yi Hua's question. If Yi Hua were to ask her about it in the future, she would be able to answer him. Qingya rubbed onto her but pitifully, Yi Hua, you are bullying me again, I'm not going to play with you anymore. After finished speaking, Qingya pulled Donghuang Baiji and left. Seeing that his wives had left, Yi Hua thought to himself, I will teach them a lesson tonight and let them have a taste of my bone-melting soft palm. Yi Hua immediately spread open his hands and gathered a powerful force, then grabbed onto the tire and rolled forward. Chapter 271. In the Dry Zen sect, all the corpses of the Ding family had disappeared, and the smooth limestone was untainted by even a speck of dust. No one would have thought that this place was once filled with rivers of blood. Inside the hall, His Honor, who was dressed in a gorgeous robe, was sitting on the throne above the stairs. His eerie bony fingers were pressed on the armrest, and his empty eye sockets seemed to be staring at his 7 subordinates. My patience has been worn out by foolish humans. His cold tone made the 7 subordinates tremble, and they immediately knelt down. This subordinate has failed in his duty. A trembling voice rang out in the empty hall. His Honor slowly stood up. Since the humans don't dare to come, I shall exterminate them one by one. Yes. Greed, pick 3 targets first. His Honor said calmly. Upon hearing that someone had been killed, everyone from the 7 deadly sins became excited. Yes. Greedily he took out a bunch of bamboo sticks with the names of various forces written on them. He placed them in the wooden box and shook them gently. Swoosh 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 sounds rang out in the main hall. The fate of all the forces was in the hands of this small bamboo stick. The first 3 sticks that fell out would definitely be the result of the annihilation of the entire clan. One of the small bamboo sticks gradually moved up, but it gave people the feeling that it didn't want to come out, but the other bamboo sticks wanted to squeeze it out. Clang. The bamboo lot fell to the ground. He picked it up and glanced at it greedily. Your Honor, the first target has appeared. Who? Southern Ji clan. Although they didn't know what kind of family it was, they didn't really care. It was fine as long as it was people. Greed continued to sway. Your Honor, the second target has appeared, the South Side's Traceless Pavilion. It continued to shake. Third target, Southern Cloud Martial School. Greed put away the bamboo stick. He still had to use it in the future. This kind of killing method was very exciting. His Honor said faintly, 1 per day, I want to enjoy the cries of the humans. Yes. This sentence meant that many people wouldn't die very quickly. The Dry Zen sect and the Ding family were considered lucky as they didn't suffer any pain. The 8 of them disappeared from the Dry Zen sect hall and headed for their first target, the Ji family. Right now Yi Hua had brought his family back to Leisure Bar. The little fellow was already tired from playing and was currently sleeping in his mother's embrace. As for Qingya, she pushed Yi Hua and prepared to return to the bedroom. Wait a minute, what are Yi Zizi and the others doing? Yi Hua suddenly said. What else can they be doing, playing games? Qingya smiled tenderly. Arriving at Qing Yutong's bedroom, the 2 of them were not sitting beside the computer, rather they were lying on the bed while holding onto their phone, and were engrossed in playing something. Strange, these 2 people actually didn't want to eat chicken. What are you doing? Yi Hua asked. Brother-in-law, don't speak, I am stealing a dragon with Zizi. Qing Yutong said cautiously, as if her words might be heard by the enemy. With her brows tightly wrinkled, Yi Zizi pouted her mouth and said, Big brother, Zizi has already knelt for so many times. What kind of game would cause Yi Zizi to lose? Yi Hua expressed that he was very curious, and indicated to Qinya to move forward a bit to take a look. However, as soon as he saw the screen, he saw the word, failure. A childish voice sounded from the other side of the phone. Are you too stupid? Others have already pushed their way into our house and you're still playing Dalong. Yi Zizi was not willing to accept this outcome, and she crazily rolled around on the bed, while Qing Yutong was actually quarreling with a primary school student. Yi Hua snorted coldly, just a lousy game is enough to make the two of you so flustered. Qingya, help me with the next one. Yi Hua, it's better not to play anymore and rest early. Qingya said attentively, her tone was extremely gentle. Yi Hua took out his phone and said faintly, hurry up and go down. Although I can't bring you guys to the chicken dinner, can't this small mobile game help you guys to win? Yi Zizi was already cheating, but she still couldn't take on 3 to 4 people ganging up on her. Yi Zizi was angered to the point that she wanted to suck them to death. Shameless humans only know how to use human wave tactics. Yutong, what game is it called? It's Kings of Glory. Brother-in-law, you better go and rest well, this game isn't simple. Yi Hua sneered, I like games that aren't simple. After the game was over, Qingya accompanied Yi Hua and watched by his side, while Yi Hua formed a party with his sister-in-law Yi Zizi. Yi Hua chose Di Renjia, who looked rather handsome. Yutong Zizi, follow me. After entering the game, Yi Hua began giving out orders. Everything was within his grasp. The three walked to the middle lane and Yi Hua said faintly, destroy the tower. Qing Yutong, Yi Zizi, brother-in-law, let's go to the bottom lane, I beg of you. Big brother, why are you even worse than an elementary school student? Qingya laughed tenderly and gave a sweet kiss to Yi Hua, encouraging him. Looking at Qingya's kiss, I won't scold you guys. Yi Hua obediently walked down from the middle lane. Buddhist temple is really not good. Yi Hua looked at the screen that had turned black. There are actually 5 burly men hiding in the bushes, and they actually gang-killed me. Brother-in-law, I beg of you not to send me off. Big brother, don't be reckless. Yi Hua, seems like you can't do it. Qingya laughed tenderly. I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to fight with you guys. Cunning humans. Di Renjia, who was level 1, walked to the bottom lane and immediately saw the 2 heroes in front of him. When have I, the Supreme Overlord, ever been afraid? Qing Yutong held onto her forehead. I got killed in the bottom lane. Yi Zizi shouted out, Big brother, don't send me off, can you just hang up? Seems like this is still a game of intelligence. I, the Supreme Overlord, should stabilize the situation first, then continue fighting. As expected, Yi Hua didn't send me off and calmly dealt the finishing blow. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? Qing Yutong was in pain. What are you shouting for? Can't you guys see that I am still developing? You guys hold on first, wait until my equipment is ready, I will naturally win. 20 minutes passed, and Yi Hua's godly equipment finally came out. 4 of his teammates had already been killed, and facing the 5th brother, Di Renjia could only pick up the soap. Failure. Do I have a grudge against games? Death Mage and Sun Fang, who were far away from Ying family, were also playing. Sun Fang leaned onto the hard bone and said with a smile, this Di Renjia is so silly, he was just farming money from start to finish. GGG Imperial Translation. That's right, he is even more of an elementary school student. If they were to know that the person in front of them was the Supreme Overlord, they would immediately choose to be actors. Yi Hua, I will go and rest first, don't get angry and harm your body. Qingya said sweetly, and before leaving she didn't forget to give Yi Hua a long kiss. However, the current Yi Hua didn't have the mood to experience it. After Qingya left, Yi Hua stood up and said to Yi Zizi, lie down a bit. Yi Zizi pouted her small mouth. The big pit is still going to continue harming people. Lying on Yi Zizi's bed, Yi Hua said gravely, I know how to play now. Dong Huangli woke up very early and wanted to give her daddy a kiss, but in the end, her daddy wasn't in the bedroom. Where did daddy go? Yi Hua pushed open the door of Qing Yutong's bedroom and immediately saw her father. Chapter 272. Could he not die? The addition of Yi Hua had completely increased the difficulty of the game. Zizi, go scout the bushes. Cousin, I'm a sorcerer and you're a meat shield. Yi Zizi was depressed. Yi Hua shouted out gravely, if I, the meat shield, were to die, who would help you guys deal damage? At that time, would you still have the chance to kill the enemies? There seemed to be nothing wrong with those words. Yutong, protect me. Yi Hua shouted out. Huang Zhong, who was in the game, could be seen gradually getting closer to Arthur and sticking close to him to protect him. The damage dealer can die, but the tank cannot die. It would be strange if he didn't lose for the whole night. Daddy, what are you two playing? Dong Huangli jumped onto the bed and asked curiously. So it's King of Glory. Ali is already a King of Glory. The three of them looked towards Dong Huangli at the same time. Their expressions seemed to be asking, is a Glory King powerful? The three of them were all matching and they didn't even know what bronze was. Looking at his daughter's sweet smile, Yihua's mood became much better. Ali, is this Glory King powerful? Of course, top 100 in the entire server. Little Ali, please carry me, Qing Yutong hurriedly said. Yizizi immediately hugged onto Dong Huangli. Ali, quickly help me win a round. Okay. I'll go ask Mama for her phone. However, 1 hour later, only then did Dong Huangli know what was meant by unable to carry along. So it turns out that Aunt Qing and Aunt Yi are such scammers, and the scammer of all is still Daddy. Seeing that I am being bullied, Daddy mindlessly rushed up to fight back. Although he is a scam, I really like Papa Yihua, who was currently playing a game, received Wei Chang's message. Your Honor, Ji family has been exterminated. Ji family? Never heard of it. Yihua was concentrating on playing the game. Actually, winning or losing wasn't important, the most important thing was to accompany his daughter. In actuality, subordinate has never heard of them either. However, according to the news that Sun Fang sent over, this group of people are extremely cruel and have the demeanor of His Honor back then. There's such a thing? Let's keep it for now. Yes. I didn't expect that this group of people's style of doing things would be so similar to the Supreme Overlord style. While I feel that it's interesting, I also feel confused. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji suddenly appeared, and their expressions were very solemn. Yihua knew that they definitely knew about the news as well. Yihua, I want to make a trip back to Voidless Realm. I will go there with Baiji, Qingya said. Yihua placed down his phone and asked gravely, where are you guys going? Donghuang Baiji blinked her beautiful eyes, then said with a tender voice, I'm just going back to have a meeting. What about you? Yihua asked Qingya. Baiji said that she would teach me how to use the cultivation method. Yihua thought for a moment, then said gravely, if you two dare to not inform me and decide on your own, I will smack your butts until they swell. Daddy, you are so handsome, Dong Huangli raised up her thumb. Mommy is so obedient in front of Daddy, she is even more obedient than Dong Huangli. The two girls agreed with a smile. If you all leave, who will take care of me? Yihua asked this question that he was concerned about. Qingya took a look at Yizizi, then looked at her sister. Yutong, I will leave your brother-in-law to you. Ah! Qing Yutong cried out in surprise, and while looking at her brother-in-law, she shivered. After that, the two women left first. After Dong Huangli finished playing the game, Dong Huangli instantly left. Aunt Qing and Aunt Yi are both such scammers and Daddy is the most scammer. It is better for me to go and watch cartoons. After his daughter left, Yihua said faintly, Yutong, aren't you going to help me change my clothes? Brother-in-law, stop pretending, big sister is not here anymore. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth. I have already been tricked by you for the entire night, I beg you to let me off. Yihua immediately put on a stern look. You aren't even listening to my words? Quickly come over and lie down. Yizizi immediately shrunk into a corner. Brother-in-law, you, hurry up. I haven't taught you a lesson for a few days and you've become very naughty. Actually, his hands were itching to spank her. Not to mention, spanking his sister-in-laws but was particularly stimulating. Qing Yutong looked towards Yizizi for help, and the latter immediately covered her head with the quilt. Brother-in-law, be gentle. Qing Yutong lied on Yihua's thigh, and her face was completely red. I'm going to be spanked by brother-in-law again, I'm so happy. The room was filled with a beautiful symphony. After a long time, Yihua sat on the wheelchair and came out, then went to the bedroom to sleep. Qing Yutong rubbed her buttocks, so painful, so numb. Big sister Qing, does it feel good? Yizizi stretched out her head and asked curiously. Good your head, I'm tired to death. Time to sleep. Qing Yutong said petulantly. Qing Yutong lied on the bed, not daring to lie down anymore. Masochist. Yizizi muttered, then went to sleep as well. However, while the few of them were sleeping, the entire cultivation world was in a mess. Everyone was in danger and panicking. Everyone wrote a joint letter to the aristocratic families, and the aristocratic families were suffering unspeakably. A bunch of family heads and sect heads were surrounding the doors of their houses, asking for an explanation. These few aristocratic families are the sons of turtles. After something happened, they all shrunk into a corner. One of the family heads was indignant. After paying so much money to the aristocratic families every year, and now, during the crucial moment, all of them are hiding, not caring about anything at all. It has only been a few days. Dry Zen sect has been exterminated, Ding family is finished, and Ji family is also finished. I heard that right now there are still blood-curdling screams coming out from Ji family. This won't do, we must definitely get the aristocratic families to go out. They have ancient godly items. If they don't dare to go out, then hand over the ancient godly item. Hand over the ancient godly item, you all are not worthy to possess it. Hand over the ancient godly item, you all are not worthy to possess it. Hand over the ancient godly item, you all are not worthy to possess it. Shouts rang out from outside. And the 4 aristocratic families' family heads that are sitting inside are also in a difficult situation. The big shots above are not willing to go out, so what's the use of us going out? Aren't we just throwing away our lives? They are heartless, so we don't need to be loyal anymore. Diao Lang stood up and directly walked out. The other 3 also followed closely behind. It is not that we don't want to interfere, but rather we don't have the strength to interfere at all. Diao Lang stood in the air and shouted towards the few hundred people, various family heads, various colleagues, various brothers and sisters. Everyone, don't panic. Colleagues, your sister, quickly go and kill that group of people. The people below didn't give him any face at all and started scolding. When have aristocratic families ever been scolded before? But in this kind of situation they are the ones being scolded. Marshal Saint's temper isn't good and he shouted out explosively, all of you shut up. As expected, only martial power can suppress them. Diao Lang sighed lightly, everyone, we have already reported this matter, but the big shots are basically avoiding us. We have no choice. How is this possible? The responsibility of the big shots is to stabilize the south. You are definitely lying. Immediately the people below became as noisy as a market. All of them are overlords of a region, yet right now they are acting like hawkers. Ying family and Voidless Realm's strength suffered greatly from the battle, and they didn't agree to help us. And now Ji family is refusing to meet us and we are suffering too. Diao Lang shouted out loudly. His heart was filled with helplessness. If you all want to look for those big shots, what's the use of looking for us? Chapter 273. The various family heads had heard of this battle before, and right now, with Diao Lang's confirmation, they were all endlessly astonished. For the sake of the South's glory, Ying family fought against Voidless Realm, but this damnable Ji family, who is extremely powerful, is actually hiding right now. Let Ji family come out and fight them. Right. Ji clan is the strongest. Everyone, don't panic. We will go to Ji family to hang a banner to demonstrate our strength. The 4 of you will lead the group. That's right. Let's go on a demonstration. I'm going to buy a speaker stereo. I'm going to buy a banner. I'll go get more people. The 4 clan heads looked at each other. What should they do? The matter was getting bigger and bigger. Whatever, let's just bring them to the Ji family. The rest is none of our business. He Tian said in a deep voice. He was having a headache because of this matter. When these people were afraid, they were not afraid of anything. The 3 of them nodded silently. This was the only way. Meanwhile, in Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji brought Qinya along to attend an important meeting. In the beginning, Qinya rejected Donghuang Baiji, but Donghuang Baiji said, we are a family now, there's nothing that can't be said. In the end, Donghuang Baiji dragged Qinya into the palace hall. Qinya told Donghuang Baiji that it would be fine for her to sit at the lower seat and listen to the conversation, and she didn't want to sit together with Donghuang Baiji. Donghuang Baiji could only arrange one seat. In the palace hall, other than Yuanda, Xinghan, and He Xian, there were also 5 new generals from Voidless Realm. However, they didn't say anything about it. After all, Qinya and the Empress were family, and she had also helped push back the Ying family during the battle. Thus, she had contributed greatly to the battle. Meanwhile, Yuanda and the other 2 were even more speechless. She had the bloodline of Nuwa, and it wouldn't be a problem for her to be on equal footing with the Empress. Your Majesty, the South is facing a great calamity. Should we help? Yuanda brought up the most important topic of this meeting. Should they help? He Xian cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, this is a matter of the South, it's better for us northern forces not to interfere. Xinghan agreed with He Xian's words. Your Majesty, Voidless Realm's vitality is greatly injured, and it is not suitable for Voidless Realm to fight again. How could Donghuang Baiji not know about these things? However, when she heard that families were being exterminated one after another, she couldn't bear it. Qinya, do you have any opinion? Donghuang Baiji chose to ask Qingya. Standing from Voidless Realm's point of view, Voidless Realm indeed shouldn't go out to battle. However, standing from a moral point of view, Voidless Realm has to fight against evil forces. I suggest we don't. For the sake of the entire Voidless Realm, Qingya gave her own suggestion. After all, one shouldn't joke around with other people's lives. Donghuang Baiji let out a light sigh. She finally understood. All of you can leave now, we will discuss this later. Donghuang Baiji waved her hand. Soon only the two of them were left in the hall. Qingya, it's convenient for you to speak now. As an empress, Donghuang Baiji's eyesight was still quite good. Qingya laughed lightly. It is still Baiji who understands me. Pausing for a moment, Qingya continued, this group of people is very strong. Sending too many people would just be sending them to their deaths. You're saying? Donghuang Baiji wrinkled her brows and asked. Both of us will go. Donghuang Baiji didn't expect that Qingya would be so daring. After being shocked, Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but praise Qingya endlessly. As expected of the woman chosen by Yi Hua, she isn't just a flower vase. This courage was rare. All right, let's go. The two of them hit it off immediately. However, the excited expression on their faces immediately crumbled. Both of them thought of the same problem. Qingya, you have a good relationship with Yi Hua. You should go and beg him. Donghuang Baiji said sneakily, seemingly afraid that Yi Hua would find out about this. Qingya shook her head. He likes your high and mighty attitude. You should go back and display your empress aura and make him allow us to go. Donghuang Baiji immediately cowered. I don't dare to, Qingya. It is better for you to go and act coquettishly. How about we go and seduce him together? Qingya came up with a good idea. In actuality, Yi Hua was quite susceptible to this idea. Will it work? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. It will definitely work. Qingya was very certain. Donghuang Baiji smiled gently. Let's go, I will go and teach you how to use the technique. And we have to hurry up. If Yi Hua were to know of their thoughts, he would definitely teach them a lesson. Do you two think that this is a game? Do you two think that you can run away just because you can't win? You two are truly two wives who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Early morning, Yi Hua, who was on the bed, slightly opened his eyes. Touching his side, he discovered that it was empty. The two of them actually didn't return. What is the meaning of this? Are they rebelling against the heavens? Don't they know that there is a disabled person at home that they have to take care of? Your Honor. Traceless Pavilion has been exterminated, but the pavilion master is not around. Wei Chang's voice rang out in Yi Hua's mind. Traceless Pavilion's pavilion master, Gu Zheng, was currently on a demonstration, completely unaware that his Traceless Pavilion had been exterminated. It was precisely because of this that Gu Zheng was able to escape from this calamity. Yi Hua said, this group of people's speed is rather fast, 1 per day. Your Honor, should we take action? What action? Call the police. After cutting off the connection with Wei Chang, Yi Hua stood up, lit up a stick of cigarette, and looked towards the hot pot restaurant that was not far away from him. Is there someone controlling me to force me to appear? Or am I thinking too much? There will always be some people who think that they are able to challenge my dignity, but in the end they will still die. No Xuanadier ripple suddenly appeared, and Yi Hua immediately jumped onto the bed. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji could be seen appearing in the bedroom. While looking at Yi Hua, who was sleeping soundly, the smell of cigarette drifted in the air. One can even smoke while sleeping? Yi Hua, wake up. Qingya shook Yi Hua, who was lying on the bed, and called out tenderly. After opening his eyes, Yi Hua looked at the two women. You two have returned. Did you smoke just now? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. I did smoke just now, then I lied down again. Looking at the cigarette, but that was below the window, Qingya asked confusedly. Why is the cigarette but below the window? What the hell, what do you two mean by this? Are you interrogating me? I haven't even said that you two didn't return home at night. It was flicked over there. What did you two do? You two didn't even return home. Yi Hua began changing the topic and asked with a straight face. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other, then began acting according to the plan. The two women could be seen immediately leaning onto Yi Hua's two sides, then reaching their hands into Yi Hua's clothes and caressing onto his sturdy chest. Yi Hua, the two women called out sweetly and even gave Yi Hua a kiss, causing Yi Hua to be very intoxicated. Oh, they are unaccountably solicitous. To actually use seduction, this is indeed brilliant. Needless to say, this is definitely Qingya's wicked idea. Yi Hua, let's prepare to go and meet those people. Qingye kissed onto Yihua's cheek and said tenderly. Donghuang Baiji was the same as well. Yihua's face was filled with red lipstick marks. As a man it is already enough. Is this all you have? If that's the case you are underestimating my willpower too much. No. You two better stay at home obediently. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji knew that it would be like this. The two women's hands reached into Yihua's pajamas. This caused Yihua's brows to raise up. Ruthless enough. So comfortable, Donghuang Baiji said shyly. Yihua, just let us go, and we will go tomorrow then come back the day after tomorrow and accompany you to sleep. Qingye bit onto her lower lip. This action of hers nearly caused Yihua to go crazy. Chapter 274. Yihua, who was feeling extremely good, nodded his head. However, with this nod, that soft little hand disappeared, and the comfortable feeling disappeared in an instant. When he opened his eyes, not even a strand of hair could be seen. If not for the lingering fragrance, Yihua would have thought that he was dreaming. He rubbed his forehead. These two liars. You actually dared to lie to me? Great, I have already promised them. Could it be that I am going to go back on my words? This isn't my character. The words of this sovereign cannot be taken back. However, the plan had already been messed up, and with their meager abilities, they would only be sending themselves to death. It seems that I still have to go personally. Since they planned to go tomorrow, he would help them settle it tonight. Let's go meet that counterfeit. Wei Chang. Yihua said indifferently. Your Honor, do you have any instructions? Tonight we'll make a trip there and destroy them. Although Wei Chang didn't know why His Honor suddenly wanted to make a move, Wei Chang didn't ask much and replied respectfully. Right now, Qingye was currently undergoing Donghuang Baiji's devilish training and was preparing for tomorrow's big battle. However, she didn't know that Yihua was going to sweep away all the obstacles for them tonight. As expected of a wife-doting maniac. The news of the destruction of Traceless Pavilion quickly swept through the entire southern forces, causing the panic to become more and more intense. All of the sects and clans closed their doors, sent their disciples on leave and scattered all over the place. However, the north seemed to be gloating. Ji family was located in a dense forest in the southwest, and the forest was similar to Voidless Realm. There was a layer of barrier outside the forest. However, this barrier was a lot weaker than Voidless Realm's barrier. However, to Yihua this barrier was just a matter of a cigarette butt. At this time, there were thousands of people gathered outside the barrier. There were banners everywhere and there were also many speakers. This is bad. Not good. A man appeared in the sky and shouted with a panicked expression. What's wrong? Did something happen again? Traceless Pavilion has been exterminated. At this time, Gu was holding a megaphone and scolding the Ji family for being shameless and did not pay attention to the situation behind. Pavilion Master Guy. Stop shouting, something big has happened. The person behind patted Gu Zheng. Gu Zheng turned around and shouted, What's the big deal? What we need to do now is to persuade the Ji family to come out. Your Traceless Pavilion has been destroyed. Gu Zheng's face stiffened, and the loudspeaker in his hand fell to the ground. What did you say? Don't destroy my Traceless Pavilion. Yeah, I just got the news. Gu Zheng suddenly covered his forehead as if he was about to collapse. Fortunately, someone behind him caught him. After a long time, Gu Zheng stood up. His eyes were bloodshot, and a stream of spiritual energy gathered in his hand. Without saying anything, he hit the barrier. You cowards! Come out! Bang bang bang. The fist struck the barrier, but it did not even cause a ripple. Everyone fell silent. In the face of such a powerful enemy, they were helpless. Even the giants did not dare to go out. How were they supposed to live like this? What are you all staring blankly for? Today, my Traceless Pavilion was exterminated. Tomorrow it might be your turn. If the Ji family doesn't step in, we will all die. Gu Zheng's words were quite useful. All the elders started to attack Ji family's barrier, but it was still insignificant. Inside Ji family, the three brothers sat under the pavilion and drank tea, not caring about the life and death of the people outside. Big brother, I might as well go out and get rid of all of them. Ji snorted coldly. He was looking down on these people. Ji Ting laughed. Second brother, if we were to get rid of these people, we would have to bear the infamy. Are we going to be scolded by them every day? Ji was extremely gloomy. I didn't expect that I wouldn't be able to do anything to them even though they came to my doorstep to cause a ruckus. As the family master, Ji Zizhen had a slight smile on his face as he slowly placed down the teacup. They will leave after a few days of scolding. At that time, we can just casually charge them with a crime and kill a few of them to intimidate them. Big brother is wise. Gigi calmed down his anger, then cupped his hands and said. But then again, these people are still very arrogant. If not for the fact that we have to pin down the other two giants, we would have gotten rid of them in a few minutes. Ji Zizhen laughed lightly. Then he picked up the teapot, poured another cup of tea and filled it up for his two brothers. Thank you, big brother. The corner of Ji Zizhen's mouth raised slightly. In the future, I will have to trouble my two brothers with a lot of hard work. Being loyal to Ji family is our duty. Big brother is being too serious. The two brothers stood up and said respectfully. Ji Zizhen was very satisfied with his two brothers' attitude. Today Yihua had nothing to do. His wives weren't by his side, and there wasn't even anyone for him to kiss. Right now he could only bring his daughter to watch cartoons. Daddy, why can't Grey Wolf eat the sheep every time? So pitiful. Dong Huangli, who was lying in her father's embrace, asked curiously. This question made Yihua a bit happy. Seems like daughters still take after their fathers. Yihua laughed lightly. Grey Wolf is just playing with the flock of sheep. If he really wants to eat the sheep, it would be very easy for him to do so. Dong Huangli didn't really understand. Yihua taught his daughter attentively, the strong disdains to kill the weak, but they can control the weak to entertain themselves. Since Qinya and Donghuang Baiji weren't around, Yihua began instilling crooked logic into his daughter again. Then is Ali strong or weak? Dong Huangli poked her little hands. From what Daddy said, it seems like I am weak. Yihua laughed. Ali will naturally become strong in the future. Everyone will have to listen to Ali's words. Is that so? Ali wants to become strong in the future? But Ali wants to accompany Daddy. Dong Huangli hugged onto her father, as if she won't be able to be together with her father if she becomes strong. While caressing onto his daughter's back, Yihua said faintly, Ali, being independent is something that every child should have. You won't be able to stay by Daddy and Mommy's side all the time, you also have your own sky. Well, Ali doesn't want to be independent, Ali wants to be together with Daddy forever and take care of Daddy. Yihua was helpless. Children are like this, they are especially attached to their parents. Let's talk about it when Ali grows up a bit. If it really doesn't work, I'll just release Ali. My children have to learn how to stand on their own, no matter if it's a boy or a girl, this is for their own good. In this world where the weak are prey to the strong, one can only rely on oneself. Parents are only there to assist and guide them. After Yihua finished watching cartoons with Ali in the afternoon, Yihua personally taught Ali techniques. It must be said that Ali was a very fast learner. For a child, Ali only needed to be taught once or twice, and Ali would be able to learn some superficial knowledge. The sky gradually darkened, and after eating dinner with everyone, Yihua accompanied his daughter to play King of Glory. After tricking the three girls, Yihua carried his daughter who was sleeping soundly and placed her onto the big bed. While he was at it, Yihua cast a spell on his daughter, allowing his daughter to fall asleep. Yihua even cast a mirror image spell on his daughter. If his two wives were to come back and see that he wasn't around, it wouldn't be good. This time Yihua didn't plan to bring a lot of people with him. Thus he only called Wei Chang along. Chapter 275. The two of them came to the sky above the Ji clan and looked down at the entire land. This Ji clan was quite rich and they all had luxurious manners. I, the supreme overlord, am thrifty enough, a good family man. Right now, faint screams of pain could still be heard coming out from Ji family. Judging from this, the situation inside the Ji family was not very optimistic. However, Yihua didn't care about it. Your Honor, subordinate will be able to settle this matter by myself. Your Honor can just stay here and watch. Wei Chang bowed slightly and said with boundless sincerity. Yihua silently took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. My original supreme overlord was also imitated, and I really want to meet that imitated person. When this group of people offended his honor, it was already a crime punishable by death. His honor's dignity cannot be trampled on by anyone. Wei Chang shouted out gravely, and the aura that erupted out from Wei Chang's body was even denser than that day. This attracted the attention of the people below, and they all looked towards the sky. Yihua said calmly, Wei Chang, just follow me down. Yes. As they spoke, the two of them landed in the Ji family's manor. The entire place was filled with the stench of blood, and the surrounding grass was littered with severed limbs. It was a nauseating sight. While smoking, Yihua walked at the front, and Wei Chang respectfully followed behind Yihua. Save me, save me. A man could be seen suddenly coming back to life, and upon seeing Yi Hua and Wei Chang's appearance, the man hurriedly cried for help as he slowly crawled towards the two of them. Fresh blood could be seen on the grass, and upon seeing this scene, one's heart couldn't help but sink. Yi Hua silently took a look at it, then continued walking towards the luxurious villa that was not far away from him. Wei Chang glanced at him and waved his hand, giving the man a quick death. The man died with his eyes wide open. I originally thought that he was here to save someone, but I didn't expect that, from start to finish, Yi Hua was never a good person, and as his subordinate, Yi Hua was even more so. Standing next to the fountain, the pool was dyed red with fresh blood. It was a ghastly sight. The screams coming from the villa seemed to have stopped. It seemed like the villa had discovered Yi Hua and Bai Xiaochun. Wei Chang, these families sure know how to enjoy life. Yi Hua flicked the cigarette ash and sighed. In the past he would also enjoy himself, but those were all fleeting clouds. Only when he was with someone important to him would he be able to enjoy himself wherever he went. Wei Chang said respectfully, humans earn money so that they can enjoy themselves. This has never changed. Yes, by the way, I doubled your salary. Wei Chang was so touched that he immediately kneeled down. Thank you, Your Honor. What's so good about that? Those were all added by Qingya. I, the Supreme Overlord, am even poorer than you. When thinking about Qingya, Yi Hua laughed bitterly. Wei Chang was shocked. Yi Hua's expression changed and he said coldly, "It's good that you know about this matter. If this matter were to be spread out, I will order you to break up with little Tang." This subordinate doesn't dare. Wei Chang hurriedly expressed his stance. He felt that he knew too much. The door of the villa opened and 4 figures slowly walked out. This caused Yi Hua to be a bit surprised. This skeleton is too similar. That expression, that walking posture, that pretentious aura, how could it be so similar? Also, that robe was still in the ring. How could he have it? Yi Hua couldn't help but sigh. This is too similar. Looking at Yi Zizi again, although they were not exactly the same, the expression on her face was reflected. Her signature ponytail swayed behind her head, making her look like a cute little loli. The man in the suit should be the imitation Wei Chang, not bad. However, that person who has the appearance of a youth should be Lai Gu. His entire person is emitting out a coquettish aura. Who are you? His Honor asked calmly. Haha, even this imposter's tone is so similar. This is a bit interesting. I didn't waste my time coming here. In order to prevent his body from getting injured, Yi Hua revealed his original form. Bai Wei's skeleton appeared in front of the 4 people's eyes. The imitation Yi Zizi was dumbstruck as he looked left and right. To his honor. Not only Yi Zizi, even the imitation Wei Chang was a bit stupefied. The imitation Wei Chang came back to his senses and shouted out angrily, "Audacious! To actually imitate his honor." The 2 arms suddenly transformed into ferocious mutated beasts, and the rows of sharp teeth that seemed like they were able to bite through all of the tools in the world, and the mucus on the 2 arms was even more disgusting. After Wei Chang saw the 2 arms, he was also endlessly shocked. This is too similar. The 2 mutated beasts rushed towards Yi Hua. Yi Hua took a puff of the cigarette. Yi Hua, who did not have a body, looked just like a death mage. Wei Chang, do you have a younger brother? Yi Hua turned his head around and asked curiously. Wei Chang smiled modestly. Your Honor, subordinate doesn't have any brothers. What a pity. Your Honor, leave these 3 counterfeits to subordinate. Killing intent appeared in Wei Chang's eyes. To actually dare to be impudent in front of his honor. What a scandal. Take your time, don't scare them. Yes. Wei Chang's entire right arm could be seen wriggling, and just like the one in front of him, Wei Chang transformed into a mutated beast. However, the size of the mutated beast in Wei Chang's right arm was much bigger, and there was no other difference. However, having a bigger size meant that the mouth was bigger. With a single bite, the 2 mutated beasts were forcefully pulled down from their bodies and swallowed. The imitation Wei Chang was very shocked. When he retracted his arms, there was no sign of his arms being cut off. The 3 of you, come over here. Wei Chang pointed at the 3 imitation Wei Chang and shouted out, then walked to the side. His Honor said faintly, go. When underlings fight with underlings, the boss will definitely fight with the boss. I wish to ask you a few questions. Yi Hua said faintly. I wish to ask you a few questions as well. His Honor said. The tone of the 2 were exactly the same, and it was impossible to tell who was real and who was fake. If one really wanted to tell who was real and who was fake, then one could only tell based on one's strength. Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette and asked, Where did you come from? I naturally came from another world. Where did you come from? Oh, he actually came from another world as well? Could it be that he came from the same world as me? Or could it be that he came from a parallel universe that the humans spoke of? This is too mystical. The surprise are truly huge. Yi Hua said faintly, I naturally came from another world as well. After hearing what Yi Hua said, his honor's expression remained normal, while Yi Hua's expression was much richer. This made Yi Hua feel that this imitation Wei Chang was still the same as it was 5 years ago. One last question, how did you come to this world? Yi Hua asked gravely. This question was very crucial. His honor let out a deep breath and looked at the sky. I was schemed against by those hateful humans. However, I will definitely take revenge. Yi Hua couldn't help but cry out in surprise. This is too nonsensical, right? Is he an imitation Wei Chang or is he me from before? And how did you come to this world as well? His honor asked back. The two seemed like old friends catching up with each other, while on the other side the battle was in full swing, and the high-end villa was instantly turned into rubble. This Wei Chang is starting to act recklessly. Yi Hua's thoughts seemed to have returned back to the past. I am the same as you, I was schemed against by the humans. Rather than saying that I was schemed against by the humans, it would be better to say that my leadership was too arrogant. There isn't any problem with my leadership ability. Don't spout nonsense. His honor's tone changed a bit, he was very angry. Yi Hua immediately laughed wildly. You are just the same as me 5 years ago, that kind of unwillingness, that kind of arrogance, that kind of not realizing your own mistake. Chapter 276. When Yi Hua heard this, he couldn't help but sigh. Thinking back to the time when he first arrived on Earth, he wished that he could directly go back to Earth and kill until the world was turned upside down. Fortunately, Wei Chang and Lai Gu were a little weak at that time, so they just waited for a period of time and casually learned. However, the longer he waited, the 5 years had already passed. If not, I wouldn't be able to meet Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, and I wouldn't be able to have such an adorable daughter. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not here to persuade you to turn over a new leaf. Yi Hua said calmly. To be honest, this counterfeit is going to be a good subordinate. However, the person who dared to impersonate him didn't even have the qualifications to be his subordinate. A red light flashed across his honor's eye sockets. You sure have a big tone just like a human. You're still lacking if you want to imitate this sovereign. Yi Hua let out a laughter that could cause one's hair to stand on end. You're just my version 0. 0 and I'm already at version 3. 0, your strength and brains are not on the same level. Without saying anything, his honor stretched out his skeletal hand, and black flames emerged from his skeletal hand. Abyssal flames. Right now, Yi Hua had already passed the period of being shocked. This abyssal flame is something that I obtained after going through untold hardships. Its might is about the same as other flames. Thinking back to back then when I used this abyssal flame to split the human race into pieces, it could be seen just how powerful this abyssal flame was. But now, the deity had mastered dozens of flames. He took out a cigarette and lit it with the abyssal flame. Soon after, he said, playing with fire with me, you are still too inexperienced. His honor clearly snorted coldly, and the abyssal flame that was in his palm flew towards Yi Hua. Meanwhile, Yi Hua still remained motionless and continued smoking his cigarette silently. If you don't dodge, you are dead. His honor reminded. Yi Hua took a deep breath and said faintly, as a supreme overlord, if I have to dodge such a small trick, wouldn't I be losing face? Furthermore, this world doesn't need 2 overlords. Boom. When the abyssal flame came into contact with Yi Hua's body, the black flame soared straight into the sky, and the blue dome of heaven seemed as if it was going to split open. The ferocious power of the abyssal flame caused everyone to be speechless. The surrounding temperature rose rapidly, and the entire ground was gradually corroded and evaporated. The entire manor was instantly razed to the ground, and even the surrounding area was affected. How is it possible for a high-level imitation like you to withstand my abyssal flame? His honor's expression was calm as if he had just killed an ant. Ah! Yi Hua's laughter could be heard ringing out from within the raging flames, and this caused his honor to instinctively become vigilant. I didn't expect that the flames of the abyss would not be able to burn Yi Hua to death. A high-grade imitation will always be a high-grade imitation, even this abyssal flame is a low-grade version. Yi Hua laughed madly, mocking himself for guessing wrongly. With a wave of Yi Hua's skeletal hand, black flames that soared into the sky gathered on Yi Hua's skeletal finger. Fune gently blow it out. Impossible. How did you do it? His Honor's tone changed slightly. He was very surprised, and it was even more difficult for him to believe what was happening in front of his eyes. While smoking the cigarette, Yihua said calmly, "If you are able to reach my level, then you wouldn't be surprised. Even my family's Ali's fire wouldn't be this weak." Impossible. Die, deceitful human. After speaking, His Honor began chanting and countless spells swept toward Yihua. Death Wither. Soul Turmoil. Life Siphon. Dark Despair. Various kinds of high-level spells rushed towards Yihua, and Yihua didn't put up any defense and relied on his skeletal body to resist the spells. Fortunately, he was able to protect the cigarette that was on his finger. Cigarettes were very expensive, and those two women said that they had to quit smoking before they gave birth to a child. Isn't Ali still very normal? Various kinds of death spells revolved around Yihua's body. Meanwhile, Yihua raised his hand, took a deep puff of the cigarette, then exhaled. This puff of smoke extinguished all of the spells, and His Honor couldn't help but take a step back. I have long stopped using these spells, and recently I have been liking to use brute force. Yihua said faintly, and a 2-meter-long katana appeared in his hand. The slender katana was emitting out a silver light under the moonlight, and it was also emitting out an eerie cold air. His Honor pointed at the katana in Yihua's hand and muttered, "Why did my dead moon's night end up at your place? Why is it at my place? Don't you have any idea what's going on?" Yihua could be seen stretching out his hand and stroking lightly. Over 100 weapons were exposed in the sky, and all of them were emitting out a dazzling radiance. Any one of these weapons would be able to cause a war between gods and demons. However, at Yihua's place, all of these weapons were merely placed at the foot of a wall and gathering dust. His Honor looked at everything that was in front of him blankly. "All of these belong to me. You stole something from me. Shameless human." Yihua kept the katana, then held onto the katana with his left hand and smoked the cigarette with his right hand. "Perhaps you have to think about it. All of these things are actually in your memories, but you don't have them." "No? This is impossible. Where did my things go?" His Honor held onto his head, seemingly trying to search through his memories. Yihua said faintly, "The person who created you only gave you your memories, but there are a lot of things that he wasn't able to give you. How can I be someone who was created? You are lying." His Honor's anger seemed to have been ignited by Yihua, and an astonishing amount of spiritual energy emerged from his body. "Come out, Abyss Demon." The ground began shaking, and as if there was a magnitude 9 earthquake, a huge crack opened up on the ground. Then 5 huge fingers appeared from below the crack, and soon after, the fingers climbed up. The finger was a 50 meters tall giant, and its entire body was fiery red like magma. When it appeared, the temperature of the surrounding rose to the extreme, and everything started burning. Looking at this place from afar, it looked just like a huge fireball, and the fireball was still expanding towards the surroundings. Brr. The Abyss Demon roared at Yihua. The roar was so loud that it actually created a shockwave that spread towards the surroundings, and the fire became even more ferocious. A forest fire is definitely unavoidable. Throwing away the cigarette, but Yihua held onto the night of the dying moon and slashed with one hand. A silvery light that was as thin as a hair struck towards the neck of the Abyss Demon. After passing through the neck, the silvery light flew towards the horizon and gradually disappeared. The defense of the Abyss Demon is the strongest. Even if you have the night of the dying moon, you still won't be able to injure it in the slightest. His Honor was very confident. Meanwhile, the Abyss Demon cooperated with His Honor and let out another roar. Plop. The Abyss Demon's head that was slightly tilted slid down, and the neck area was extremely neat, just like tofu. Soon after, the Abyss Demon's entire body heavily fell onto the ground, giving off a burst of sparks. "That depends on who is using it," Yihua said faintly. His Honor looked at the Abyss Demon that fell onto the ground blankly, and his mouth was opened wide. "This skeleton is 1,000 times stronger than those overlords. All right, I have played enough. I need to go back and accompany my child." Yihua didn't want to continue wasting time. The curiosity that he had in the beginning had already disappeared. His Honor suddenly shouted out to Yihua. "Are you going to beg for mercy?" Yihua asked gravely. If His Honor really begged for mercy, Yihua would be very disappointed. How would His Honor have any intention of begging for mercy? In fact, he didn't even think of running away. "Can you let off my subordinates?" Now that His Honor had clearly seen the strength of both sides, he didn't expect that he would be killed for the second time. Yihua had just regained his physical body, and when he heard what His Honor said, his expression was very astonished. Chapter 277. No. Yihua refused. As a supreme honorable, how could he possibly forgive such a crime? I'm not a kind-hearted person. I won't take pity on you just because you have my memories. After all, you are you and your subordinates are your subordinates, not my subordinates. Wei Chang. Stop playing. Yihua shouted out gravely. Not far away, Wei Chang revealed a confident smile as he looked at the three people in front of him and said, I'll let you die a worthy death. As soon as he finished speaking, Wei Chang's body began to expand. A handsome middle-aged man's face twisted crazily, forming a head with only a big mouth. Sharp teeth dripped with sticky liquid, and his body turned into hundreds of tentacles, supporting the huge head. At the top of each tentacle was a small head, biting the ground with sharp teeth. This was Wei Chang's true form, a monster. Even Yihua wasn't sure what kind of monster it was. When he first met Wei Chang, there were these monsters everywhere, but they were all eaten by Wei Chang. To put it bluntly, Wei Chang had killed his entire race. He became a unique existence. When the three impostors saw Wei Chang's current state, they were a little stupefied, and his honor's shout could be heard from the side, quickly run. The three of them didn't have time to think. Want to run? Wei Chang's tongue was very long, it was estimated to be at least 50 centimeters long. Tang Wei should be very happy. Licking its rows of sharp teeth, the tentacles on its lower body slightly bent, and it launched off. His first target was the counterfeit Yi Zizi. How dare you imitate Zizi? Are you tired of living? He instantly swallowed Yi Zizi in one gulp, then turned around and devoured the other two knockoffs. These replicas didn't even have the strength to transform into their original bodies, so it was obvious that they weren't perfect. Your Honor, they have been cleaned up. Wei Chang, who had returned back to his human form, landed beside Yihua and said respectfully. Yihua nodded his head, then looked at His Honor who was in front of him. After keeping the Night of the Dead Moon, Yihua didn't want to say anything anymore. Golden flames emerged from his index finger and ignited the Night of the Dead Moon. This blazing sun burns the heavens, can help you free yourself. After saying that, he flicked the golden flame on his finger. There weren't any strong visual effects, but when the flame came into contact with His Honor's bones, the flame spread like a parasite, and the entire skeleton turned into a golden color. That pair of empty eye sockets stared at Yihua, seemingly telling Yihua that this matter will not end just like that. A cool breeze blew past and blew away His Honor's ashes. Even the robe that His Honor was wearing had turned into ashes. Boring. Yihua sighed with emotion. Being invincible truly feels empty. Wei Chang smiled and said, His Honor's power is boundless, naturally he is able to stand above everyone else. But I, the Supreme Overlord, sent the two women to the heavens. Yihua laughed lightly. That is because your Honor loves the madams, subordinate can understand. Wei Chang, you know more and more. Wei Chang smiled bitterly. This subordinate doesn't want to know either. That's right, there are still a few of them, you go and deal with them, I will be going back now. Yihua yawned. I don't know if my daughter has woken up or not, this little fellow sure doesn't sleep well. Just as Wei Chang was about to reply, four figures suddenly descended. Yihua slowly turned around and said faintly, I was just about to look for you all and you all came. Among the four, Greed was a bit emotional, and there were even glistening teardrops on his face. Your Honor, Greed could be seen running out of the group and kneeling onto the ground, then hugged onto Yihua's thigh. Yihua, who was currently smoking, was stupefied, and Wei Chang, who was behind him, was also stupefied by the scene in front of them. Zhu Tian? Yihua cried out in surprise. Zhu Tian took off his gold-rimmed glasses and transformed back into his original form. With a single look, Yihua and Wei Chang knew that it was Zhu Tian himself, because there wasn't anyone else that was cuter than him. It was a small cat. However, different from ordinary cats, there were a few colors intertwining on its fur, and within its gorgeous fur, there was a deathly aura. Your Honor, subordinate has finally found you. Zhu Tian transformed back into his human form and cried like a child. Meanwhile, the 7 deadly sins behind Yihua revealed curious expressions as they looked at Zhu Tian. Yihua coughed lightly, the reason why I came here this time is to look for you. Zhu Tian was startled, and he became even more touched. To be able to receive your Honor's care and concern, subordinate will never forget it in my entire life. Woo woo. Yihua finally understood. No wonder all of these people still have their memories, so it was Zhu Tian who did it. This also explains why all of their memories stopped at 5 years ago. Tell me what is going on here? Zhu Tian began telling Yihua what happened to him. After coming here for 5 years, Zhu Tian was unfamiliar with this place, and adding on how much he missed his honor and his companions, Zhu Tian used 5 years of time to create a high-quality imitation of his honor. Didn't I just complete the imitation of his honor? These past few days were the happiest time I had in the past 5 years, and I was enjoying the blood that I had back then. Zhu Tian. You dare to order his honor? Wei Chang shouted out. This was a huge disrespect. Zhu Tian doesn't dare. Although Zhu Tian created a high-quality imitation of his honor, I didn't disrespect his honor in the slightest. Subordinate just wants to live under his honor's might, and only his honor's imposing aura can allow Zhu Tian to sleep peacefully. Wei Chang said, then you made his honor into a fool. Yi Hua. Zhu Tian made the imitation according to his honor's personality in the past. Wei Chang revealed out a smile. His honor is no longer his honor from 5 years ago. Yi Hua said faintly, Wei Chang, you are also no longer the Wei Chang from 5 years ago. Your honor is overpraising me. Wei Chang was terrified. Yi Hua said faintly, it isn't convenient to talk here, let's go to another place. Bio. Everyone appeared in the toilet of Leisure Bar. Your honor. Please lead us to glory once again and kill all of humanity. Zhu Tian adjusted his state of mind. Now that I have found his honor, I can start a massacre now. This feels great. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. Zhu Tian and Yi Zizi are still the same as before, killing everyone the moment they appear. Zhu Tian, don't look at the current his honor the same way you looked at him in the past. Wei Chang reminded. Yi Hua was happy, but he still had to give a stern criticism. Zhu Tian, do you know that you have spoiled my plan? Subordinate doesn't know. Zhu Tian said very sincerely. Yi Hua, Wei Chang, you talk to Zhu Tian, I will smoke a cigarette. Yes. Wei Chang summarized everything that happened within 10 minutes. Upon hearing that, Zhu Tian was startled. I didn't expect that his honor would change so much. Subordinate knows his mistake, his honor is no longer the same his honor from 5 years ago. Right now, his honor even possesses superhuman wisdom. Subordinate blushed with shame. Subordinate's little tricks were seen through by his honor with a single look. See through my ass, I thought that his honor was still the same his honor from 5 years ago. If I am unable to see through such little tricks, how am I supposed to be your leader? Yi Hua said gravely. I was nearly tricked by my subordinate. Subordinate is terrified. Oh right, where did you go just now? Yi Hua asked curiously. Chapter 278. Wei Chang asked curiously, did you pay? In the past, Absolute Heaven was the brains of the team. For Wei Chang to ask such a question, there must be a reason behind it. According to Wei Chang's words, Absolute Heaven could deduce the answer. Zhu Tian said respectfully, of course we will pay. We are good citizens who abide by the law. Not bad, Zhu Tian, for you to be able to comprehend it in such a short amount of time, I am very happy. Yi Hua was very gratified. As expected of my former military advisor, my brain works very fast. It's been 5 years and I've once again received your honor's praise. This subordinate is very happy. Yi Hua nodded his head, then said faintly, Zhu Tian, since you have returned, I can give you a test. Your subordinate will not disappoint your honor. Tomorrow the 2 madams will look for you. Deliberately lose to them but don't expose your identity. When Zhu Tian heard this, he was greatly shocked. This subordinate absolutely does not dare to exchange blows with the madams. Wei Chang thought of Lai Gu. I reckon that fellow is currently hiding at home and shivering in fear. On that day he injured Madame Dong Huang. It is fortunate that his honor succeeded, if not, Lai Gu would have to take the blame. One more thing, let those family heads fight with Ji family. After that, I will lead everyone to exterminate Ji family. Wei Chang and Absolute Heaven were excited. This time they were going to move out on a large scale again. Moreover, they were going to exterminate their entire clan. It was not subduing. Yes, your honor. Zhu Tian shouted respectfully. Remember, for tomorrow's performance with the madams, don't blow your cover. Otherwise I'll sell you to a pet shop. Yi Hua warned coldly. Originally, I was planning to exterminate all of them tonight, but I didn't expect that Zhu Tian would appear. I'll let those 2 silly women be happy for a while and let them have the feeling of being a heroine. I, the Supreme Overlord, will go and be the bad guy. Looking at pride, envy, and wrath, Yi Hua said gravely, get rid of all of these fake goods, I am getting annoyed just by looking at them. If the real person came back in the future and saw these fake ones, they would think that the real person missed them a lot. What's more, it wasn't the time for the main body to use a fake, so it wouldn't be able to display the true strength of the 7 deadly sins. Without the slightest hesitation, Absolute Heaven nodded and said, "Yes. Go get ready." Absolute Heaven quickly disappeared from the toilet. "Wei Chang, your subordinate is here. Spread out the news that Voidless Realm's Empress will be bringing along." "What do you mean by that?" Yihua asked curiously. Wei Chang probed, "Best friend? That won't do. Just say that I brought along a heroine and came to crusade against him." Yihua also had a bitter conscience. This wife-doting maniac was already a reality. This subordinate understands. Looking at Wei Chang who was leaving, Yihua laughed lightly. "The two of you want to be nameless heroes? I, the Supreme Overlord, will not agree to that. Such a magnificent feat must be known to the entire world. I'll make them into true heroines and then I'll make one with each of my hands. Isn't that great? Be envious, humans. Be jealous, humans. Hate me, humans. You will never know that I bully the heroine in your hearts every day." Thinking up to here, Yihua let out a deep laugh. When he returned to the bedroom, he saw his daughter kicking the blanket off the bed. She was hugging the pillow and sleeping soundly. Her expression was very cute. Dong Huangli lightly pulled out the pillow from her body, and when she smelled the sweet smell coming from the pillow, Dong Huangli hugged onto her father tightly with a comfortable look on her face. Yihua let out a breath and lied on the bed. Those two women should be very smug tomorrow. I, the Supreme Overlord, have arranged a big show for the two of you. In Voidless Realm, Qinya planned to train for the entire night, while Donghuang Baiji guided Qinya attentively by the side. The sky gradually turned bright and Qinya, who was in the small courtyard, looked at the sky. Yihua should be very angry right now. We have not accompanied him for 2 days already, right? We are also doing this for the sake of all living beings in the world. At most, we will go back tonight and properly compensate Yihua. Donghuang Baiji said shyly. Compensating Yihua with her body is definitely Yihua's favorite. Qinya laughed. It's about time for me to leave. This is an ancient godly item, purple forest armor. It is immune to all poisons and has very high defense. Donghuang Baiji could be seen handing over the ancient godly item to Qinya. In actuality, Donghuang Baiji only had 2 ancient godly items, one was a sword and the other was an armor. The rest of the ancient godly items were given to her subordinates. Of course, Donghuang Baiji wouldn't go and ask for them right now. If they knew that she and Qinya were going to fight against that group of people, they would definitely stop them. Do you have any more? Donghuang Baiji smiled. I changed my sword. The previous sword was broken by Lai Gu. You can keep this armor then, I am stronger than you. Qinya returned the purple forest armor back to Donghuang Baiji. Qinya, your words are pricking my heart. Quickly put on the armor, if not, I will go and find Yihua to snitch on you. Qinya laughed bitterly. You don't even look like an empress anymore. In the past, I felt that being an empress was very awesome, but now, I feel that being a woman is even more enjoyable. That's right, being a woman is actually pretty good, especially when it comes to a man like Yihua. That's right, a man like Yihua is going to direct a good show for you all. After putting on the purple forest armor, Qinya's body changed. From a virtuous wife, she became a female general. A purple breastplate paired with a purple gown. The might of an ancient godly item gradually spread out, and the spiritual sword in Qinya's hand also added a different kind of charm to it. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baiji, who was wearing the Golden Empress armor, looked mighty and domineering. Her beautiful face made one's heart itch, not knowing what she looks like under the golden armor. Yihua knew that what was underneath the golden armor was a delicate body that none of you would be able to imagine, the kind that would make you feel the moment you touch it. The two women took a glance at each other, then disappeared from Voidless Realm and arrived in the sky above Ji family. However, the ground was already scorched, and the forest that was not far away was still burning. Many fire trucks could be seen being dispatched from the foot of the mountain. Donghuang Baiji let out a breath, then waved her hand. Immediately, a layer of clouds gathered in the sky above, and very soon heavy rain started falling. Where did those people go? It seems like a huge battle happened here. Donghuang Baiji asked doubtfully. There is a powerful aura fluctuation coming from the southeast. Qinya cried out in surprise. Counting from the southeast direction, Cloud Sect is not far away from here. Qinya, they are planning to exterminate Cloud Sect. Donghuang Baiji said. The two women disappeared once again. A Cloud Sect. Right now, Zhu Tian was wearing a red gown and wearing a joyful mask on his face. Zhu Tian was currently walking on the stairs of Cloud Sect. Meanwhile, Cloud Sect's disciples had all rushed back this morning, saying that they were going to attend some kind of meeting. And in the end, right after they returned, they bumped into this damned fellow who had already killed a few Cloud Sect's disciples. Within Cloud Sect's palace, a youngster directly flew down from the palace. The youngster had an extremely handsome appearance, and the green gown that the youngster wore was different from the other disciples. Sect Master. The disciples greeted respectfully. That's right, this youngster was the one who instantly became the sect master from Big Senior Brother after Sun died. His name was Wu Hao. He was an ambitious youngster, and his goal was to get together with Sun Fang. However, when he heard that his goddess had thrown herself into the embrace of a bad person, Wu Hao's heart had already died. However, it was precisely because he was in such a state that he went berserk while cultivating, and coincidentally, he actually managed to open up his conception and governing vessels, allowing him to soar into the sky. Chapter 279. Who are you? To actually dare barge into my Cloud Sect? Wu Hao shouted in a stern voice as he surrounded Zhu Tian with the other disciples. Zhu Tian said with a relaxed tone, "The reason I came here today is to exterminate your Cloud Sect." "You are that group of people," Wu Hao said in a deep voice. All the disciples' expressions were exceptionally grave. "That's right. Today is the day you die. No one can save you. If someone can save you, it must be a fearless warrior." After he finished speaking, a powerful aura burst out from Zhu Tian's body, sending everyone flying. However, they did not die, they were only seriously injured. "Stop." A delicate shout could be heard from the horizon. The person hadn't arrived yet, but the voice had already been transmitted over. It must be an expert. In next to no time, two beautiful figures appeared within the Cloud Sect. Zhu Tian had never seen the two madams before, and he almost wanted to kneel down and kowtow to them. He didn't expect that his first meeting with the madams would be like this. He was ashamed. Everyone from the Cloud Sect looked at the two big sisters who had suddenly appeared. Clearly they were attracted by their beauty. On the other hand, Wu Hao, who had fallen on the stairs, stared blankly at the two ladies. His originally dead heart was quietly resurrected, and he now had a new goal in life. However, none of them recognized the Empress. Isn't this the legendary Empress? Someone from within the Cloud Sect cried out in alarm, then pointed at Donghuang Baiji and shouted out. In actuality, this disciple was someone from the Ying family who was impersonating Donghuang Baiji. His acting is pretty good, right? After receiving the order yesterday, Sun Fang had used a secret method to summon all of her disciples back to the sect. She had also arranged for people from the Ying family to work with her. Her Majesty has come to save us. Voidless Realm's Majesty has come to save us. Another disciple could be seen standing up and shouting out with all of his strength. I never thought that your Majesty would come to help us for the trifling matters of the South. We are truly impressed. The other one must also be a heroine. She's not inferior to men. Look at the giants in the north and look at the giants in the south, the Ji family. This is the difference. That's right. Her Majesty the Empress has rushed over from afar to save us, and we'll be sacrificing our lives for her. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt a bit dizzy. Didn't all of the major sects return to their homes? This Cloud Sect is still gathering people. Furthermore, their words are really making me blush with shame. Wu Hao stood up with the help of his disciples. He cupped his hands towards the Empress and said, "I am the sect leader of the Cloud Sect, Wu Hao. Thank you, Empress, for lending a helping hand. My Cloud Sect will never forget this." Donghuang Baiji was also a person who had seen big scenes before, and thus she said lightly, "Sect Master Wu is being too courteous. Getting rid of demons and protecting justice is the aim of my voidless realm. Today I will definitely get rid of those people." The Ying family disciple shouted, "Long live the Empress! Long live the heroine!" Who didn't know how to kick up a fuss? Even adding scenes had to be done properly. As he shouted, it became, "Long live the two Empresses." Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt a bit giddy. This southerner is truly too passionate, I don't even dare to accept it. Initially he wanted to deal with it stealthily, but he didn't expect to cause such a big scene. However, this was not the end. Many black dots could be seen emerging from the horizon, and soon after, those black dots landed in Cloud Sect. Most of these black dots were loose cultivators, and when they heard that Voidless Realm's Empress was going to make a move, they suggested coming over to take a look. And in the end they really came. Looking at this scene, that group of people should have been stopped. If not, Cloud Sect would definitely have been exterminated. Your Majesty, for you to be so worried about the South's matter, we, as Southern cultivators, feel ashamed. That's right, the Southern's big shots are locked up in their seclusion, and yet, Your Majesty came all the way here to save them. This kind of sentiment is truly admirable. And this heroine, as expected of a heroine, this humble one admires her. Immediately, all kinds of praises rang out in Qinya and Donghuang Baiji's ears, causing the two of them to feel embarrassed. Meanwhile, Zhu Tian didn't move at all, and he watched as the madams were praised. However, it must be said that the madams are truly courageous. To actually send two of them to accept the duel, this kind of temperament is definitely worthy of his honor. This subordinate is truly convinced. It was clearly a dangerous duel, but right now, it turned into a commendation ceremony. Everyone seemed to have forgotten about Zhu Tian's existence. Cough, cough, cough. Have you all said enough? Zhu Tian coughed lightly. It's enough. If you all are done praising me, then what am I going to continue praising? Only then did everyone realize that there was still another person here, and they couldn't help but become afraid. Zhu Tian slowly walked towards the two women and greeted them in a gentlemanly manner. For the two heroines to come here, I presume that you came here to stop me from killing people. This kind of courage is truly admirable. Even the enemy is praising them. That's right, the moment they came here, they immediately suppressed this man. Just a moment ago they even bowed to the Empress. I am about to become an Empress fan. Who do you think is more beautiful, the heroine or the Empress? Only children would make a choice. I say that both of them are beautiful. Qinya looked at Zhu Tian coldly and shouted out, "Scoundrel! Why are you still not surrendering?" Although this humble one admires the two heroines' magnificent feat, I am truly unable to surrendering. Zhu Tian's aura gradually rose, causing everyone to uncontrollably retreat to avoid being killed. Scoundrel! Where did your companions go? Donghuang Baiji asked gravely. Zhu Tian laughed loudly. Your Majesty, do you think that a lot of people are needed to exterminate a small cloud sect? Arrogant! Wu Hao shouted out. I'm chatting with the madams. What are you, a human, interrupting us for? She slapped the air, and a formless sharp blade flew towards Wu Hao's forehead. Qingya's body instantly disappeared. Clang! A sword was placed horizontally in front of Wu Hao's eyes. At the moment of imminent peril, Qingya saved Wu Hao's life. Looking at the figure in front of him, Wu Hao made his choice. My goddess in this lifetime shall be her. Formidable. To actually be able to block my attack. Zhu Tian clapped his hands and praised. Qinya shouted out, there's something even more formidable. How about we make a bet? Zhu Tian said. Donghuang Baiji shouted out sternly, what kind of crafty plot are you trying to play? Your Majesty is worrying too much. My bet is, if I lose today I will stop the massacre. As long as the two of you are still alive, I will not appear. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other. This is a good opportunity. Qinya asked, what about your other companions? What I mean is what they mean. Zhu Tian said. What if we lose? Donghuang Baiji asked gravely. Zhu Tian laughed lightly, it's just Cloud Sect being exterminated. Of course we can also not be exterminated. What is the condition? Donghuang Baiji asked. Are you all willing to use your lives to exchange for the safety of the entire Cloud Sect? Qinya and Donghuang Baiji's hearts sunk to the bottom. Looking at the surrounding Cloud Sect's disciples, their faces were filled with pain and pity. Although I don't know them, the reason I acted today is to save them. The two women nodded their heads at each other. Qinya said gravely, if we lose, I hope that you will act according to the agreement and let Cloud Sect go. Right now, Yihua was currently using Zhu Tian's eyes to observe the situation here. When he heard the two women's decision, he nearly collapsed from anger. Those two foolish women. They are actually willing to throw away their lives for some salted fishes. Don't they know that they have to take care of their disabled son and daughter? Chapter 280. Why do these two women not know how to use their brains? One is pregnant, and the other has a child. I have never seen such irresponsible mothers before. I am already considered to be unreasonable, but compared to them, I am already considered to be good. Zhu Tian. Teach them a lesson, it isn't that easy to be a hero. Yihua was very angry. I was originally spoiling you two, so I let you two play around and dream of being a hero. Now that I am angry, it is useless even if Ali comes to coax me. When Zhu Tian heard the news that his honor sent over, he was also astonished. Teach the madams a lesson? How heavy is this lesson? If it's light, his honor will not be satisfied. If it's heavy, his honor will not be happy. This was not a good thing, so he had to think of a way. Your honor, do you want me to break their arms or legs? Just some superficial wounds will do. I will teach them a lesson myself. Yi Hua said gravely. You two are too troublesome. If not for me, who is such a powerful backing, you two wouldn't even know how you two died. Superficial wounds are definitely necessary, if not, it would be too fake. Besides, superficial wounds aren't even considered injuries to them, they can be taken care of in a few minutes. At the scene of Cloud Sect. When everyone heard that the Empress and this heroine are actually using their lives to exchange for Cloud Sect's safety, everyone was extremely moved. There are still good people in this era. Even the noble Empress of Voidless Realm actually did such a thing. The men of Cloud Sect were no cowards and they stood up one after another. Your Majesty, heroine. We still have the strength to fight. That's right, we are willing to fight against the enemy together with your Majesty. Fight against the enemy together with your Majesty. Right now there was no need for actors. Cloud Sect's disciples expressed their thoughts one after another. As a big shot in the north, Donghuang Baiji had never been liked by the Southerners, and today, Donghuang Baiji had obtained the respect and support of the Southerners. On the contrary, Ji family and Ying family's impression of Cloud Sect had plummeted, especially Ji family. Those loose cultivators started criticizing Ji family for not being righteous, and at the same time praising Voidless Realm's generosity. Not only did Yi Hua let his wives act cool, he also caused Ji family's reputation to plummet, killing two birds with one stone. However, right now Yi Hua can only care about these two women. After he returns, I will spank both of their butts until they become swollen. Donghuang Baiji shouted out loudly, I appreciate everyone's kind intentions, but I hope that everyone will not be impulsive and avoid unnecessary casualties. What a benevolent empress. I didn't expect the northern giants to be so kind. I really want to move to the north, but I don't know if there's any space left. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji looked at each other. Right now, they could even communicate with each other through their eyes. The two of them soared into the sky. Zhu Tian lightly laughed. The madams had already earned enough reputation. Now all that was left was the final blow. The three of them flew into the clouds. Without saying anything further, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji released their auras to the fullest. As for Zhu Tian, he controlled his strength to the same level. His hands turned into sharp claws as he fought against the two madams. The spiritual pressure released by both sides caused the clouds to churn. The intense pressure caused the people below to be unable to raise their heads. The disciples of the Cloud Sect and those rogue cultivators were all shocked. They didn't expect these three to be so strong. They weren't on the same level at all. It was too terrifying. Piercingly cold killing intent blotted out the sky and covered the earth as waves of terrifying aura engulfed the earth. Boundless killing intent erupted from the bodies of the two women as they launched a pincer attack on Absolute Heaven. Through Absolute Heaven's eyes, Yi Hua revealed an expression of shock when he saw Qinya and Donghuang Baiji. There was no need to talk about Donghuang Baiji, her foundation was already pretty good. However, Qinya was different. After awakening, she didn't have much experience. However, in just a few days of effort she was able to fight quite well. Furthermore, she had even formed a tacit understanding with Donghuang Baiji. Just like a special formation, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji controlled Zhu Tian. If Death Mage were to face such an attack, he would probably suffer a calamity. He wanted to increase the distance between them. The speed of the two women was extremely fast. Fortunately, it was Zhu Tian. No matter what, the two of them wouldn't be able to defeat Zhu Tian. However, Zhu Tian had to work hard. The more the two women fought, the more Zhu Tian's strength became. Zhu Tian, who was being suppressed by Zhu Tian, was suffering greatly. It's about time. Hurry up and use your ultimate move and admit defeat. There are still other things waiting for you to do. Yi Hua's voice rang out in Zhu Tian's mind. Zhu Tian shouted out angrily as he pushed the two women away from each other. A gigantic sphere could be seen slowly condensing. Lightning coiled around the sphere and emitted out a terrifying aura. Suddenly, the color of heaven and earth changed. Dark clouds covered the sky and lightning rumbled. Everyone below was unable to see anything and could only feel that a terrifying aura was condensing. The wind blew the two women's beautiful hair. There was no fear in their beautiful eyes, instead, they were filled with boundless righteousness. Seeing the gaze of his wives, Yi Hua felt a headache. No, I must definitely lead them astray. The two women kept their weapons and moved their hands forward. Power of bloodline. The two women shouted out at the same time. Donghuang Baiji was, after all, the descendant of Emperor Donghuang. Although she didn't inherit his bloodline, she was still a person of Emperor Donghuang. On the other hand, Qingye had completely inherited the power of her bloodline. This move was taught to her by Donghuang Baiji. Perhaps, Qingye still didn't know that the Nuwa clan was the weakest when they were pregnant. However, the weakest Qingye was still this strong. From this, it could be seen that if Qingye wasn't pregnant, she would probably be able to fight against Zhu Tian one-on-one. Furthermore, as the Nuwa clan grew older, their strength would become stronger. Right now, Qingye could only be considered to be a youngster. After hundreds or thousands of years, she might be able to defeat any one of the 7 deadly sins. However, it was said that because the strength of the Nuwa clan was too great, there could only be one Nuwa clan in this world. However, right now, Qingye was already pregnant. Right now, the two women were both using the power of their bloodline. A gigantic image appeared behind Donghuang Baiji. It was a 3-legged golden crow. On the other hand, the image that appeared behind Qingye was Zhu Tian himself. However, Qingye, who had turned into a human body and a snake tail, possessed the characteristics of the Nuwa clan. The power of the two bloodline burst out at the same time. This caused Zhu Tian to be a bit puzzled, and he had no choice but to increase his strength a bit. Right now, it was as if a gigantic volcano had appeared in the sky and was currently erupting. Countless lightning bolts scattered in all directions, causing the mountains to sway and the earth to tremble. This kind of scene was just like the end of the world. Everyone was pressed onto the ground by the might that was being emitted from the sky. However, they still raised their heads and looked towards the horizon, cheering for the Empress and the heroine. Boom! In an instant, the entire sky seemed to have turned into a white sun. That dazzling white light caused everyone to close their eyes, not daring to look at it. Immediately after, a powerful airwave burst out like a Milky Way. Right now, one could actually see a Milky Way in the sky. Everyone exclaimed in admiration. Chapter 281. Look! Someone fell down. One of Cloud Sect's disciples cried out in surprise as he pointed at the sky and said. Everyone looked towards the rapidly descending silhouette. In the blink of an eye, the silhouette landed within the sect. Zhu Tian stabilized his body and landed lightly on the ground. However, the clothes that he was wearing were torn and tattered, but the mask that he was wearing was not torn at all. Everyone felt that it was some kind of high-grade mask. In actuality, Zhu Tian merely snatched a child's mask. The child was angered to the point of crying. Seems like the victor has been decided. Everyone within Cloud Sect let out a sigh of relief. This Empress and that heroine are indeed formidable. Although it is 2 against 1, no one felt that it was inappropriate. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji slowly descended and looked at Zhu Tian with their beautiful eyes. If this person were to go back on his words, there is nothing we can do about it. Under the two's ultimate moves, only the man's clothes were slightly torn, while the woman's skin was torn. If a scar were to be left behind, it wouldn't look good. At that time, wearing a bikini would definitely not look good. What kind of situation is this, and you are still thinking about wearing a bikini? The two of you are indeed formidable, I admit defeat. Zhu Tian shouted out loudly as if he was afraid that others wouldn't be able to hear him. He did not look like he was going to lose at all. Zhu Tian's acting skills are not good. If Yi Hua was here, he would definitely bleed and poke a few holes on himself. The two women's expressions were cold, but in their hearts, they let out a sigh of relief. Since the two of you have won, I will keep my promise. As long as the two of you are here, I will definitely not appear in front of you. Farewell. After finished speaking, Zhu Tian disappeared from Cloud Sect. The entire Cloud Sect became quiet. This turn of events is too good, to the point that no one could react to it. After a while, loud cheers resounded throughout the world. Everyone went crazy as they celebrated for surviving a calamity. Qingye, do you think that Yi Hua will flip out? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Qingye smiled gently. Not just flip out, he will definitely pout in anger. However, Yi Hua looks so cute when he is angry, I really want to pinch his cheeks. Qingye laughed. You have to grab this opportunity, he is currently in a weakened state. If we wait for him to recover his strength, we won't be able to win against him. Donghuang Baiji spread out her hands helplessly. Who asked me to like this kind of man? Qingye, don't you think that this man seems to have the intention of losing on purpose? Donghuang Baiji seemed to have sensed something. This man's strength is very strong. Under the power of my bloodline, he is actually not injured in the slightest. If we continue to fight, we will definitely lose. However, he admitted defeat just like that. It was very strange. Qingya nodded her head. We still have to pay attention to this matter. I keep feeling that there is a big conspiracy behind this. Yes, I think so too. The two women were very smart. If Yi Hua were to let Zhu Tian act in the movie, it would be a wrong choice. It would be better for Yi Hua to let Zhu Tian act in the movie. Right now, the two women were already suspecting Yi Hua. If the two women were to find out that all of these scenes were directed by their man, they would definitely be angered to the point of collapse. Being cheated by the person that they love the most, just thinking about that feeling, Yi Hua felt that he was going to die. A cool song was delivered first. Your Majesty, heroine, on behalf of the Cloud sect, I thank you for your help. If it's convenient for you, please stay for a meal. As the sect leader, Wu Hao naturally had to give a speech. It was a form of etiquette as well. Of course, I also have a small motive. That heroine just saved my life, I should repay her. I wonder how about I repay her with my body. Donghuang Baiji sorted out her state of mind, then once again revealed the aura that an empress should have. This time, I am also very worried about what happened in the south. Right now, I have defeated the enemy and returned back the peace of our cultivation world. This is more than enough. After finished speaking, Donghuang Baiji and Qingya disappeared from Cloud sect. I didn't expect that your Majesty would be so amiable and approachable. That's right, she left right after defeating the enemy. What a selfless contribution. And this is something that the two big shots of the south are unable to do. That's right, what recuperation is that Ing family talking about? Did your Majesty recuperate before? And two big shots? In my opinion, they are just two big tortoises. Immediately, discussions could be heard within the Cloud sect. While praising the Empress, they were also criticizing the two big shots of the south. Looking at the place where Qingya disappeared, Wu Hao let out a deep sigh. I have to become stronger. I have to strive to have the strength to help her in battle next time. At the very least, I can't be a burden. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji didn't return back to Leisure Bar. Instead, they went to Voidless Realm. Firstly, they went to treat their flesh injuries, and secondly, they didn't dare to return home. If Yi Hua were to know that they risked their lives to save people today, he would definitely go crazy and frighten his two wives to the point that they would tremble in fear. In actuality, Yi Hua already knew about this long ago, and he had already prepared the whip. That scene should be very explosive. However, right now Yi Hua was currently accompanying his daughter to watch Calabash Brothers save Grandpa. After Zhu Tian finished dealing with the matters here, he appeared in front of Ji family's house. Right now Zhu Tian was wearing a white suit and a red necktie. Coupled with that confident smile of his, Zhu Tian sure is handsome. That pair of gold-rimmed spectacles added a hint of intellectual flavor to him. If this person isn't a teacher, then he is a doctor. The family heads that were protesting together still don't know that the crisis has been resolved, but I reckon that they will receive the news soon. Therefore I have to act quickly. His Honor's intention is to let the humans kill each other, and as a subordinate, I naturally have to understand his intention. However, looking at how dispirited and listless these people are, this is going to be difficult. His Honor's intention is to not expose himself. His demands are truly getting higher and higher. However, this is not a problem for me, Zhu Tian, to deal with. Just as Zhu Tian was preparing to act stealthily, Traceless Pavilion's pavilion master Gu Zheng suddenly stood up. His face had already lost its usual color, and in just a day he seemed to have aged by at least 10 years. Ji family's little brat, come out. Gu Zheng could be seen shouting out loudly as he smashed his fist onto the barrier. It was just a simple punch that didn't use any spiritual energy. The other family heads turned their heads and looked towards Gu Zheng, then shook their heads. Yesterday, after continuously smashing the barrier for more than an hour, the barrier still didn't have any reaction. Everyone came to a realization, and that is, this is a barrier that is impossible to be broken. In actuality, Gu Zheng didn't expect to be able to break the barrier with a single punch. He was merely trying to vent out the anger in his heart. However, Kacha. The barrier behind his fist showed signs of cracking. Gu Zheng was dumbfounded. When did his fist become so powerful? Could it be that he had broken through? Yi Hua shouted out loudly. A powerful spiritual energy erupted out from Gu Zheng as he smashed his fist onto the barrier once again. Creak, creak. The barrier was just like glass, and the cracks appeared like a spider web, to the point that even the naked eye could see the cracks clearly. Everyone slowly stood up and looked at the cracks on the barrier in disbelief. Everyone together? Gujing shouted out loudly. Sure enough, a few family heads rushed over, and soon after more and more family heads rushed over. The barrier once again enjoyed the feeling of rubbing against the ground. Bang! After 10 minutes of frenzied bombardment, a hole was opened up on Ji family's barrier. Chapter 282. In an instant, everyone rushed into the Ji family's house. Zhu Tian slowly walked at the back of the group. Naturally, he had done something to the barrier just now. Otherwise, with Gai Zheng's strength, how could he possibly break the barrier? Fortunately, he was there to make the plan perfect. After walking into the barrier, Absolute Heaven turned his head around to take a look. The barrier that had been damaged earlier was gradually being repaired, and very quickly, it returned to its original state. Today everyone will die. Absolute Heaven muttered with a smile on his face. If Yi Hua knew that his subordinate had started to fill in the blanks on his own, he would definitely scold Yi Hua. I am telling you to make them bear grudges against each other, not to kill all of them. If you kill all of them, who am I going to play with in the future? Furthermore, 90% of the powers in the south had gathered here, and if all of them were to die here, the south would not be a match for the north, and Yi Hua's plan would not be able to be carried out. He was indeed worthy of being the leader. He had disintegrated all the forces in the south in a matter of minutes, and he had done it without anyone noticing. Ji Zizhen was currently enjoying his sumptuous breakfast, and he immediately frowned. They actually broke through the barrier. How was this possible? Big brother, bad news. That group of people rushed in. Ji hurried over and reported the situation to his big brother. Ji Zizhen said gravely, "You don't even know how to handle this kind of thing? Chase them all out." That group of people smashed everything without any regard for their lives. The guards didn't dare to act rashly without orders. A few guards were even beaten up. Right now those family heads were indeed like hooligans. They started to smash things in Ji family's residence and even injured Ji family's guards. The scene was in chaos. Unruly people. These patriarchs are unruly commoners. Ji Zizhen shouted angrily. Ji did not dare to say anything when his big brother flew into a rage. After a long while, Ji Zizhen finally calmed down. While drinking the high-grade spiritual porridge, he said unhurriedly, "Catch a few people and beat them up. After that, chase them out." Yes. Ji quickly left. Ji Ting then walked in and said in a deep voice, "Big brother, it's very strange this time. The barrier broke for no reason. Is someone causing trouble? Perhaps, but no matter how ruthless the person is, I will make sure that he will not be able to leave this place alive." Ji Zizhen said coldly, and his gaze flickered with austere aura. Ji Ting was relieved after hearing that. "Then I'll go and help second brother." "Go, but don't kill anyone now. We'll kill them later." Understood. At this moment, the family heads had already charged into the interior of Ji family. The guards at the entrance were all knocked to the ground. Of course they were only beaten up. These family heads were still rational. Absolute Heaven leisurely followed behind the group, waiting for an opportunity to make his move. Suddenly he realized that the leader was very excited. That must be him. At this moment, Gai Zheng's fists landed on flesh, but he didn't use any spirit qi. This would only cause pain but not fatal. "Stop right there. Otherwise, I won't be polite with you." The Ji family's guard pointed his spear at Gu Zheng. "Call your patriarch out. I want justice today." Gu Zheng kicked away the spear in anger and punched the guard's abdomen. Bang! The silver-armored guard's eyes almost popped out. He pointed at Gu Zheng and shouted, "You dare to kill me? How dare you kill me?" Gu Zheng frowned. The surrounding guards and patriarchs stopped what they were doing and looked at the situation over here. The guard slowly fell to the ground, his body twitching as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Upon seeing this, the other guards immediately went forward to check on the situation. In this kind of situation there was no one to stop them. It was clearly just a boxing match. How did it turn into murder? Very quickly the guard stopped breathing. The other guard stood up and shouted, "To actually dare to commit murder in Ji family's territory. What is waiting for you all is the most severe punishment. This kind of matter definitely has to be reported to the family head and let him punish them." However, one of the guards suddenly stabbed out with his spear, "You bunch of scoundrels, all of you deserve to die. I am going to take revenge for my brothers." Two of the guards were brought over by the family head, and when the family head saw that his good friends were killed, He became hot-headed. His spirit chi suddenly erupted and attacked towards the guard. Immediately, blood exploded on the spot, causing everyone to be horrified. Kill? The guard shouted out in anger. Meanwhile, Guzheng wasn't afraid and shouted out, kill. Both sides immediately started fighting, and more Ji family's guards rushed out and joined the battle. Zhu Tian was very satisfied with this situation. To make them kill each other in an instant, this kind of feeling is truly wonderful. No wonder his honor likes it so much. This feeling is much better than directly killing people. From time to time, Zhu Tian would get rid of a few guards and increase their rage. Zhu Tian was very happy. Everyone stop. Ji could be seen rushing over and shouting out. Zhu Tian hated this person very much. Others are fighting properly, why are you shouting out for them to stop? What is the difference between this and sparing someone's life? As expected, along with Ji's shout, everyone stopped fighting and separated into two sides. Ji and Ji Teng, who just rushed over, tightly wrinkled their brows. Why did over 100 people from both sides die in just a short while? If this matter were to be spread out, Ji family's face would truly be lost. However, Ji family wouldn't allow these unruly people to act recklessly. Audacious! To dare to kill my Ji family's guards, do you all not know the consequences? Ji landed on the ground and shouted out. Baiwei throwing knife suddenly shot out from within the crowd. The throwing knife was so fast that even Ji didn't notice it. Wuxia! The throwing knife stabbed into Ji's chest. Although the throwing knife speed was fast, the power behind the throwing knife didn't seem to be big. It was somewhat ironic. Zhu Tian, who was in the group, had a faint smile on his face. Oh! Who dares to secretly injure people? If you have the guts, stand out. Ji found it hard to believe that he was actually stabbed by a throwing knife. Second brother, are you all right? Ji Ting asked with concern. I'm fine, just a flesh wound. Ji said gravely as he swept his gaze across the crowd. Another throwing knife appeared and stabbed into Ji's chest. The power behind the throwing knife wasn't big, but every single one of them stabbed into Ji's heart. Oh! If you have the guts, try again. Ji lowered his head and saw that 3 throwing knives stabbed into his chest. With so many people watching, his face was completely swept away. Zhu Tian had never heard of such a request before. Of course he would satisfy you. Ji was angered to the point that his face turned red. Unruly people. All of you are unruly people. There will always be people who want to harm me. This time the family heads couldn't sit still anymore. Your Ji family is a tortoise hiding in its shell, yet you are still so arrogant, to think that you are an emperor. Who do you think you are? Call your family head out, we want an explanation. That's right, quickly scram and call your family head out. That's right, if not, we will exterminate your Ji family today. What an arrogant tone, exterminate Ji family. Ji and Ji Ting's eyes were about to shoot out fire, and they were about to not be able to endure it anymore. Biu, countless throwing knives flew out from all directions, and all of the throwing knives stabbed into Ji and Ji Ting's chest. Ji was stabbed into an S and Ji Ting was stabbed into a B. Chapter 283. When the family heads saw this scene, they immediately burst into laughter. In their hearts, they were certain that Ji family would not dare to kill people recklessly. This was an action that would cause the entire world to condemn them. However, they had underestimated Ji and Ji Ting's violent temper. They were continuously mocked and ridiculed by Ji and Ji Ting. When the mocking laughter resounded in their ears, Ji took out a plate that looked very similar to the flying guillotine. However, this plate was even more powerful than the flying guillotine. That was because the flying guillotine was an ancient godly item. Ji chose the person who was laughing the most and threw out the blood plate in his hand. The blood plate directly wrapped around the head of that family head. The lower part of the blood plate immediately fell off and pierced into both of the family head's legs. Every layer of the blood plate had sharp teeth. If the blood plate rotated, one could imagine what kind of scene would occur. The furious Ji muttered as the blood plate slowly rotated. Ji family, you cannot kill me. The family head who was bound by the blood plate shouted in anger. Not only you, all of you must die. Another throwing knife pierced into Ji's chest. Ji's anger instantly exploded. Bang! The family head who was bound by the blood plate instantly turned into a pool of blood. However, the blood plate did not stop there and continued to attack the other family heads. The scene instantly turned into a mess. All the family heads no longer cared about anything else. Right now they could only risk it all. Ji Ting's body trembled as all the throwing knives on his chest were reflected back at him, killing many people. A black iron greatsword appeared in Ji Ting's hand. It was another ancient godly item. All the family heads had shock in their eyes. As expected of a big shot, this ancient godly item was like a cabbage. Ji Ting suddenly rushed out and swung the black iron greatsword at the crowd. A huge sword chi attacked the crowd, and instantly, a large number of people died miserably. At this moment, all the family heads started to panic. This Ji family had gone crazy. They actually dared to massacre the family heads of the southern powers. Everyone quickly run. Ji family has gone crazy. Quickly run, we must tell the world about Ji family's evil deeds. Let the world spurn them. All the family heads started to retreat. They must inform the outside world about this matter. Looking at the family heads who were running away, Ji and Ji Ting seemed to have regained their senses. Both of them frowned. This matter had blown up. I asked you to do your job. Look at the result of your actions. Ji Zizhen suddenly appeared behind the two family heads. Big brother. Big brother? Ji Zizhen did not reply. He looked at the situation below. More than half of the family heads had been killed or injured. The consequences were unimaginable. After a moment of silence, Ji Zizhen let out a sigh of relief. Don't let any of them escape. Yes. Yes. Ji Zizhen had already prepared for the worst. A big shot killing a subordinate, this kind of matter could not be leaked out. They must all be executed. When they reached the edge of the barrier, they realized that there was no way out. The originally broken barrier had actually been repaired. There was no road ahead, and there were pursuers behind. Everyone had a deathly look on their faces. Meanwhile, Absolute Heaven had long since transformed into his original form. He stood on the roof and watched. He even took out his phone to record the scene. After that, he laid down and waited quietly. The Ji family's army quickly surrounded the remaining few hundred people. Little brats from the Ji family, even if I die, I'll drag a few of you down to hell with me. Gai Jing took the lead and rushed out. At the critical moment of life and death, he actually erupted with a powerful spiritual pressure. Ji coldly harumphed and threw out the blood plate in his hand, which immediately wrapped around Gai Jing. In an instant, Gai Jing turned into a pool of blood in the air. Kill. Ji shouted coldly. Immediately, miserable wails, curses, and begging sounds rang out from the scene. The kitten that was on the roof, Absolute Heaven, held onto his chin and licked his paws. His phone was still recording the scene. This group of people, when it comes to killing their own people, they really don't hesitate at all. After waiting for more than 10 minutes and watching the final family head fall, Absolute Heaven let out a TSK sound. This video is definitely going to be very explosive. Ji family massacred 90% of the Southern Powers family heads. Their guts are truly incomparable. Ji family's bodyguards could be seen quickly cleaning up the battlefield and getting rid of all of the corpses, as if nothing had happened. After keeping away my phone, it is about time to report this matter. Perhaps the entire Ji family would never have thought that while they were in control of other people's lives, their own lives were also in Yihua's hands. Your Honor, the matter has already been settled. Absolute Heaven contacted Yihua and began the next step of the plan. At this moment, Yihua was currently playing with his daughter and raising her up high. How much hatred did those family heads have? Yihua asked curiously. Absolute Heaven said respectfully, very much. They even made a move against Ji family. Yihua laughed softly. Oh? They all made a move? That's interesting. How many people died? All of them are dead. Yihua, seeing that her father was in a daze, Dong Huangli asked curiously, Daddy, what happened to you? Ali, go and play with Aunt Qing first. Daddy still has something to do. Yihua said faintly. Dong Huangli was very sensible as she ran to the room at the side. Meanwhile, Yihua stood at the window and lit up a cigarette. Are you certain that all of them are dead? Subordinate is very certain. Subordinate had followed Your Honor's instructions and ignited their anger. Ji family indeed couldn't hold back and made a move against Ji family and exterminated all of them. Furthermore, Subordinate had also recorded a video. Ji family will have to take responsibility for this matter. Yihua roared furiously, when the hell did I say that all of them are dead? Who am I supposed to find to play with them? Your Honor, please calm down. Absolute Heaven panicked. I had already emphasized so much that they should kill each other, so how could you let Ji family exterminate all of them? Absolute Heaven hurriedly explained, Your Honor, Subordinate had followed Your Honor's instructions and ordered them to kill each other. However, those family heads were too weak. Then didn't you know that you should have made a move? Your Honor, if subordinate had made a move against those family heads, wouldn't we have been exposed? Yihua, I finally know why I was exterminated back then. I reckon that the orders that I gave were all twisted into reality. Great, now that those powers in the south are all finished, how are they going to be able to fight against those powers in the north? Without a few years, those powers in the south won't be able to increase their strength at all. Irritating. I am coming over right away. Subordinate will wait for your Honor's arrival. Yihua began gathering the 7 sins. This time it could be considered as a small reunion. Right now, Ji family was currently holding an emergency meeting. Ji Zizhen appeared to be very calm as he sipped on his tea. Meanwhile, the elders of Ji family were indignant. What Ji family did was against the heavens, and Ji family will definitely suffer retribution. Hearing the elders' words, Ji Zizhen said faintly, all of you stop talking. What is there to talk about when all of them are already dead? Family head, if those people were to be enraged this time around, our Ji family will definitely be exterminated. An elder said gravely. The purpose of the big shot's existence was to uphold justice. Now that they had killed all of their own people, what justice is there to speak of? Those people are all nothingness. They have not appeared in the past 1,000 years, and they will not appear in the future as well. Ji Zizhen said faintly. He was not worried about this problem at all. After pausing for a moment, Ji Zizhen continued, furthermore, the death of this group of people can be pushed onto that group of people, and this has nothing to do with our Ji family. Big brother is wise. Big brother is wise. Ji Zizhen placed down his teacup and said gravely, right now, the most important task is to annex Ying family. After that, annex Voidless Realm. Family head, you mustn't do that. Ji Zizhen's gaze turned cold as he shouted out, drag them out. Chapter 284. The man at the very front had a cigarette in his mouth and had a look of, I am a big shot, on his face, but his expression seemed to be a bit unhappy, as if he was suffering from constipation. The 4 people following behind him also looked weird. One was a handsome uncle, one was a youngster, and one was a youngster who was wearing gold-rimmed glasses. You can go to work just by carrying a briefcase. There was also a cute little loli. School is about to start soon. This is not a place that you should come to, but uncle has lollipops here. They are very delicious. This group of people was naturally Yihua and 4 of the 7 deadly sins. Just that, Zhu Tian's expression wasn't very good, because he had done something wrong. Yizizi yawned as she slapped her lips with her little hand. Today she was also wearing a public dress and there was even a big bow on her head, looking extremely cute. Wei Chang and Lai Gu had a smile on their faces, looking as if they were old friends. Who are you guys? The guard looked at Yihua and the others vigilantly. Where did these 5 people come from? I have never seen them in Ji family before. Yihua didn't have the mood to converse with salted fish. As a subordinate, I naturally have to understand what the boss means. Zhu Tian said faintly, bring us in. The 2 guards and the boss went into a daze for a moment, then said respectfully, please enter. Zhu Tian's greatest ability was to change a person's thinking. It could be said to be hypnosis. Zhu Tian also had another skill that was very awesome. That was speed. In the team, Yi Zizi was the symbol of strength and Zhu Tian was the symbol of speed. His speed was extremely fast, causing people to be unable to extricate themselves. Wei Chang's strength was rather comprehensive. There wasn't anything that was too outstanding, but when he transformed into his original form, he would cause people's hair to stand on end. There was no need to say much about Lai Gu. He was known as the Overlord of the Sky. The other 3 7 deadly sins also had their own specialties. Their entire team was capable of both land, sea and air. If not, they wouldn't have gathered all of the overlords to annihilate them back then. Back then, as the leader of the team, Yihua's physical attack was the weakest, but his magic attack was the strongest, and those overlords also understood this point. Thus they put down the barriers between each other and made a series of plans to fight over the treasures, truly reaching the point of sharing the treasures. Therefore, Yihua and the 7 deadly sins were being targeted. After all, overlords all had their own dignity, and for them to unite and share the treasures, this was a magnificent feat that had never been heard before. Even though they managed to exterminate Yihua and the others in the end, their side had also suffered heavy losses. However, at the end of the day they managed to return peace to the continent. However, they had no idea that the skeleton monster from back then was still alive. and its strength was even more monstrous. Its subordinates were even more so. If they knew about this, they probably wouldn't be able to sleep well. The two imperial guards and the elder respectfully led the way at the front. Yihua smoked his cigarette and stared at everyone in the lobby. These damnable fellows messed up all of my plans. I really want to call the police and arrest them. Murderers. Ji Zizhen, who was inside, was formulating a series of annexation plans. Suddenly he saw a few figures appear outside the house. He immediately frowned. Seeing the peculiar gaze of the clan head, the crowd couldn't help but follow his gaze, and they were all baffled. Yihua and the others walked to the center of the crowd and swept their gazes across the crowd. Tianju, who was standing at the back, shouted out, "Hurry up and kneel down to greet his honor." Yizizi took out a lollipop from her small pocket, unwrapped the lollipop and placed it in her mouth. A cute smile appeared on Yizizi's face, and her pair of scarlet eyes became even more intense. His honor will definitely let me eat until I'm full today. Hearing Zhu Tian's words, everyone in Ji family was stupefied, especially those elders. After recovering from their shock, all of them knelt down on the ground. "Greetings, Lord, his honor." Ji Zizhen didn't believe that the person in front of him was the legendary deity. Impossible. This is a legend from thousands of years ago. Why would he suddenly descend upon this world? He is definitely an imposter. Ji and Ji Ting looked towards their big brother. Just what is going on? Should we kneel down and greet him? All of the elders kneeled down. You all are deities? Ji Zizhen's expression became gloomy as he asked. Wei Chang could be heard shouting out, "Impudent! How can trash like deities compare to his honor?" Yizizi, who was sucking on the lollipop, said, And all deities are trash. Reveal your identities, if not, we will deal with you all as if you are invaders. Ji shouted out gravely, and the blood plate was already in his hand. Yihua lightly puffed out a mouthful of smoke, then said faintly, "How can you all know my identity? Furthermore, I have long invaded this world." Zhu Tian understood what Ji meant, and he immediately threw out a flying knife, which pierced onto Ji's chest. Lowering his head and looking at the familiar flying knife, Ji had a dazed look on his face. Ji Ting suddenly stood up, then pointed at Zhu Tian and shouted out, "Big brother, it's him. He is the one who was playing with flying knives in the crowd, causing us to become furious, causing us to fail." Everyone in the hall inhaled a mouthful of cold air. Only now did a lot of people realize that they had fallen into someone else's trap. "You talk too much." Zhu Tian laughed lightly. The flying knife appeared once again, but it was different from before. The sharp knife pierced through Ji Ting's right cheek and came out from the left cheek, and the edge of the knife just happened to seal Ji Ting's mouth. Audacious. Ji threw out the blood plate, and the blood plate headed towards Yihua's head. Yihua said faintly, "If I were to move even a single step today, it would be considered as my loss." Just as the blood plate was about to cover Yihua's head, Lai Gu, who was behind, grabbed onto the sharp edge of the blood plate and rubbed it with his hand. The sharp edge of the blade could be seen to actually stop moving. This youngster actually used his own flesh and blood to stop an ancient godly item. In actuality, Lai Gu had secretly transformed out his dragon bones. Yizi's hair moved stealthily and appeared on top of Ji's head. A small mouth appeared on the head of the hair, and it was looking at Ji's skull. Ji, be careful." Ji Zizhen, who was sitting on top, shouted loudly. But it was already too late. That little head had entered his body and instantly started sucking him dry. Ji's limbs twitched and his eyes rolled upwards. Ji Zizhen shouted loudly and prepared to attack. "If I didn't ask you to move, then don't move," Yihua said lightly. Meanwhile, Ji Zizhen felt a strong pressure pressing down on him, causing him to be unable to move. Yizizi's beautiful eyes curved into crescent moons as she sucked on the food. It was so delicious. Slurp. Seeing such a scene, everyone in the Ji family was shocked. An elder slapped the ground and shouted, "Retribution! This is retribution." After sucking Ji dry, Yizizi tossed him to the side and licked the corner of her lips with her scarlet tongue. He cast a glance at the people in the area and they shrank back. Yihua could be heard saying faintly, "All of you sit down. Let's talk about how you all are prepared to die." Yihua walked to Ji's seat and sat down. In actuality, the four of them were standing behind Yihua and were preparing to start a massacre. One of the elders could be heard shouting loudly, "You moved. You lost." Yihua went into a daze, then said faintly, "I never keep to my words. Everyone in the Ji family, how can it be like this? You were the one who said it, and now your words don't count anymore. You can't lie to people like this." Our Ji family are all honest people and yet we were deceived just like this. However, just as Yi Hua was preparing to enjoy himself, a golden light actually descended from outside the house. The powerful pressure coming from the golden light caused everyone to be extremely shocked. When the golden light dissipated, 2 men and a woman could be seen appearing outside the house, and they were all emitting godly might. Chapter 285. Towards the 3 people who had suddenly appeared, Yi Hua felt curious. Yi Hua immediately suppressed everyone, not allowing them to speak carelessly. As for Lai Gu, when he looked at this woman, he licked his lips and even swallowed his saliva. This woman is not bad, how about I beg his honor to bestow her to me? Will his honor agree to it? Absolute Heaven was not interested in women. After giving them a glance, he no longer paid any attention to them. Wei Chang's heart was in love with Tang Bingyao, his heart could not contain any other woman. From this, it could be seen that Lai Gu was a person with great love. Yi Zizi rolled her eyes at Lai Gu. This lecherous dragon's heart is budding again. Right now Yi Hua's heart was divided into 2 pieces. One piece was given to Qingye, and the other piece was given to Donghuang Baizhi. The woman was actually walking in front of the 2 men. She was actually the boss. Lai Gu licked his dry lips. Yi Hua felt that this woman was even better at acting cool than Qingye and the others. If it wasn't for him being curious, he would have given her a slap. After seeing Madame Ziyuan, why aren't you kneeling down and greeting her? One of the men behind shouted out gravely. Lai Gu's mouth had already turned into an O shape. God's wife, so exciting. Madame Ziyuan's original name was Zishan. After marrying into the prince mansion, she was conferred the title of Madame Ziyuan. Her strength was naturally very powerful, but she didn't know how to serve Prince Yi. Although her appearance was outstanding, Prince Yi wasn't fond of her, and thus, Prince Yi casually threw her an idle position. However, today when Madame Ziyuan, who was feeling bored, saw that the Ji family in the secular world had a strange phenomenon, she decided to come down to relieve her boredom and punish the Ji family while she was at it. After all, these 3 magnates were the little aces that the prince had left in the secular world. As soon as he arrived, he could feel the cries of vengeful spirits. It seemed that the Ji family had just killed someone. After walking in, he felt that the people of the Ji family were trembling in fear. It was very strange. The more Lai Gu looked at the woman, the more his heart was moved. This woman's skin is fair and beautiful, furthermore, her bearing is different from the 3 women that I have. I am currently lacking a woman like this. She was still the gentle type, Wenxiao was the cool type, and Bai Xiaozhen was the cute and petite type. The only one missing was the cold and arrogant type. Besides, during this time, all 3 of his wives have gone to film and he can't sleep alone. He doesn't want to touch other women's. Didn't this just happen to be delivered to his doorstep? That was great. Who are you people? Ji Zizhen asked while being controlled, but he still maintained a clear mind. The man behind Madame Ziyuan shouted out, "Impudent, you actually dare to be disrespectful in front of Madame Ziyuan." He raised his hand and slapped the air. Bah! This sound was really loud, and in an instant, a fiery red mark appeared on Ji Zizhen's face. Madame Ziyuan said lightly, "To think that a mere 3 big powers would dare to be so impudent. From the looks of it, we will have to properly discipline them." Ji Ting pulled out the knife from his mouth and shouted, "Who cares?" Reckless. Madame Ziyuan shouted out. A man behind him instantly appeared in front of Ji Ting. Grabbing him by the neck with a single hand, he sealed Ji Ting's spiritual energy and strangled him to death. This was retribution for evil. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette, got into the sitting posture of a big boss, then lit up the cigarette. I didn't expect that this group of people was also here to teach Ji family a lesson. However, for her to actually not put the 3 big powers in her eyes, this point is rather interesting. His curiosity was piqued and his mood became slightly better. Ji Zizhen, who was in a higher position, could only watch helplessly as his 2 younger brothers died miserably on the spot. Ji Zizhen's eyes were bloodshot. What was ironic was that each of the 2 groups of people were killing 1 brother each. However, I didn't expect that these 3 people were actually deities. If that's the case, could it be that these 3 people are the group of people who have been killing outside for the past few days? Madame Ziyuan placed her gaze onto Yi Hua. This man's expression is indifferent, seemingly not afraid of me at all. Furthermore, he is even smoking something. This is simply a great disrespect to me. Lowly humans. To actually be so impudent in front of a deity. Yi Hua let go of everyone's restraints, and he was very curious as to which side would they beg for mercy from. Everyone felt that their bodies had become lighter, and their gazes were puzzled. However, no matter what, now that a deity has appeared, we have to pay our respects. Lord Deity? Other than Ji Zizhen, everyone from Ji family kneeled on the ground obediently. Of course, other than Yi Hua and his group. Ji Zizhen took a look at Yi Hua, then took a look at Madame Ziyuan, and in the end he made a decision in his heart. Slowly walking to the front of Madame Ziyuan, he kneeled on the ground and shouted out, "Lord Deity." Madame Ziyuan lightly raised her hand and everyone was propped up by a formless power. Those who know their wrongs and are able to correct themselves can still be saved. However, some people are beyond saving. Madame Ziyuan looked towards Yi Hua and his group. Ji Zizhen seemed to have forgotten that this woman had just killed his younger brother, and he hurriedly said, "Lord Deity, this group of people are invaders. If Lord Deity doesn't appear, I reckon that Ji family will be exterminated." Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette ash and said, "Even if I appear, I won't be able to stop your footsteps of extermination." Audacious. The two men shouted out gravely. Madame Ziyuan waved her hand, indicating to the two subordinates to not make a move, as she still had questions that she wanted to ask. Yi Hua was the same as well. "And who are you?" Madame Ziyuan asked. Yi Hua silently took a puff of the cigarette, then said calmly, "I am a good person." Ji family cursed out in their hearts. If you are a good person, then there wouldn't be any bad people in this world. He is the one who barged into Ji family and killed my second brother. Lord Deity, killing this lowly one is a small matter, but this lowly one has offended your dignity. Ji Zizhen was a smart person, but he begged for mercy from the wrong side. However, even if he begged for mercy from the right side, the consequences would still be the same. Since Yi Hua had already made his decision, he wouldn't change it easily. Is what he said true or not? Madame Ziyuan questioned gravely. Yi Hua asked curiously, "They messed up my plans and killed a lot of innocent people. I am grieved and hateful." Grieved and hateful. Indeed, I am grieved and hateful. Yi Hua didn't lie, he is just grieving and hateful for his own plans. Lord Deity, don't believe him. Yi Hua said faintly. Zhu Tian, let her take a look. Zhu Tian took out his phone, then walked in front of Madame Ziyuan with a smile on his face and opened up the video. The video was filled with Ji family's brutality and the evidence of Ji family covering up the truth. Those people were originally mine. And in the end they were killed by Ji family. Thus, it shouldn't be too much for me to exterminate a family, right? Yi Hua said gravely. Madame Ziyuan turned her head around and looked towards Ji Zizhen. What else do you have to quibble about? Lord Deity, Ji Zizhen didn't know how to explain himself. Could it be that I am going to swallow up other big powers? If that's the case, my head is going to fall onto the ground. Madame Ziyuan said faintly, "For deceiving a deity, your soul shall be extinguished." Madame Ziyuan could be seen slapping onto the top of Ji Zizhen's head. Ji Zizhen opened his eyes wide and was in disbelief. How big of a matter is this? Deceiving a person is equivalent to killing them. This man also deceived everyone just now. Why isn't he dead yet? Furthermore, he is still smoking like a big shot. I am not willing to accept this. A nameless flame started burning out from within Ji Zizhen's body, and very quickly, Ji Zizhen turned into a flaming man. Chapter 286. Alright, this made Yi Hua recall back in the past, how many humans would act cool in front of me. Only at the very last moment, would they understand how wonderful it was to act cool in front of me. After all, the difference in strength was the biggest flaw. For example, this so-called deity in front of me, I really don't know who gave her the courage to actually say such a thing. Doesn't she know that today is the last time you can act cool? His honor was offended and the four people behind him were already getting restless. Even Lai Gu had the urge to kill this woman in front of him. She is overestimating herself too much. His honor can only be revered and cannot be offended. This is a crime that will result in the execution of all 9 generations of one's family. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and signaled the 4 people behind him to not act recklessly. Although this woman was very disrespectful towards me, there are still some things that I want to know. For example, the 3 insignificant big shots. What is the meaning of this deity? Is this deity of hers the same as the deity from my side? Or are they just colleagues? Or are they just superiors and subordinates? This has once again aroused my curiosity. This woman sure knows how to save herself. Hearing that, Yi Hua took a puff of his cigarette, then asked curiously, "Are all you deities so arrogant?" Madame Ziyuan seemed to have become interested as well. She signaled the two people behind her to not act recklessly. "I have never seen such a daring man before, let's see what he has to say." Madame Ziyuan walked over and sat on Ji Ting's seat, while her two subordinates tossed Ji Zizhen and Ji Ting's corpses to the side. Ji family's people in the surroundings didn't even dare to breathe loudly, because they couldn't afford to offend these people. From Madame Ziyuan's sitting posture, it could be seen that this woman wasn't like Donghuang Baiji, who had the appearance of being the sole ruler. Madame Ziyuan's sitting posture was more like that of a married woman. Her beautiful face was like the calm surface of a lake, there wasn't any fluctuation in her emotions, and within her eyes, there was only a trace of curiosity. Seemingly because of this, Yi Hua and the others didn't die. Unbeknownst to them, Yi Hua's curiosity was only aroused. "You guys can still stand and talk?" Madame Ziyuan said lightly, "Deities are naturally above all living things, this logic is very simple." "How many overlords do you deities worship?" Yi Hua asked curiously. "Back then, I killed quite a lot of supremes, and from the number of supremes, I can determine the strength of this wave of deities. If there are many supremes, then naturally they are strong. If there are few supremes, hee. Madame Ziyuan laughed lightly. It must be said that Madame Ziyuan's smile was rather comfortable to look at. If not, Madame Ziyuan wouldn't have been fancied by Her Highness. Just that, Yi Hua was no longer interested in other women, Wei Chang was the same as well, and Zhu Tian was not interested in women at all. Only Lai Gu was slightly moved by Madame Ziyuan. However, this kind of feeling was different from before. This kind of feeling was the feeling of wanting to hang him up and beat him up. To actually dare to be disrespectful to his honor. Candles and whips served his honor. Supreme beings are lofty and unparalleled existences. Worshipping them is disrespectful to them. After pausing for a moment, Madame Ziyuan continued to ask, "You calling yourself the Supreme Exalted is already a blasphemy towards the Supreme Exalted. You will not be able to escape from death." Yi Hua laughed lightly, "Overlords are all lofty and unparalleled existences, then what kind of existences are Supreme Overlords? Supreme Honorable? Supreme Honorable won't appear in the future." Madame Ziyuan said faintly, seemingly losing her patience. Yi Hua flicked off a bit of cigarette ash, then said calmly, "Congratulations, the Supreme Honorable that you said will never appear is currently sitting in front of you. According to what you said just now, shouldn't you be kneeling in front of me and praying to me?" Impudent. The two people behind Madame Ziyuan burst out with an astonishing godly might, and all of Ji family's members who were inside the hall spurted out blood and died. What dogs hit deities? They are even more formidable than the Supreme Overlord when it comes to killing people. Just that, the Supreme Overlord is doing it openly while the two of you are doing it sneakily. Madame Ziyuan's two subordinates rushed towards Yi Hua. However, when they were less than a meter away from Yi Hua, their bodies stopped and soon after they returned to Madame Ziyuan's side. Zhu Tian's expression was completely normal, and he didn't seem like he was being controlled by someone. Zhu Tian naturally knew of his honor's intentions. Killing people was not his honor's original intention, toying with people was his original intention. Madame Ziyuan's expression sunk slightly. "I am naturally aware of the abnormality of my two subordinates, but I don't know why. It is impossible for these few people to do anything under my nose. Could it be that my husband gave them some sort of restriction? This can only be the only possibility." Yi Hua said faintly, "This conversation is about to end here. Madam, I will give you a bit of time to consider, are you going to kneel or not?" "Wei Chang, Yi Zizi, didn't the two of you want to have a competition? Although there aren't a million people here, there are at least tens of thousands of people. Go and have some fun." Yi Hua said faintly. Madame Ziyuan could be seen shouting out, "This Ji family is my husband's servant. You are still not qualified." Right after Madame Ziyuan finished speaking, a godly might burst out from Madame Ziyuan's body, and the spiritual energy of the world gathered towards her from all directions. Madame Ziyuan's entire body seemed like a dazzling sun that was emitting out the godly might of the world. The entire hall was instantly turned into ashes, and even the corpses were vaporized. As expected of a deity, just her aura alone is already so formidable. However, in Yi Hua's eyes, Madame Ziyuan was merely trying to please the crowd. Watching this woman's performance is also not bad. For offending a deity, I, the madam, shall bestow upon the two of you the death penalty. Madame Ziyuan shouted out. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. "I have already said it, if I tell you to wait, then just wait. There is no need for you to be in such a hurry to die. Yihua lightly flicked his finger. All of Madame Ziyuan's mana was instantly sealed by Yihua, as if her power supply was cut off. Madame Ziyuan powerlessly retreated a few steps back and sat down absent-mindedly. Madame Ziyuan looked at Yihua blankly. This is impossible. He was actually able to seal me in an instant. Even my husband was unable to do it, but this man was able to do it. Could it be that he really is? This is definitely impossible. Overlords are existences that are like nothingness. How can they possibly live in this kind of low-grade world? Let's begin, we still have to rush back. Yihua said lightly. Izizi smiled. Gluttonous monster, let's compete. I will satisfy you. Wei Chang said with a slight smile. What an amiable subordinate, talking and laughing with each other. Then, look at those two. As the leader of the team, Yihua wasn't that serious right now. When his subordinates were joking around with each other, it would also increase their friendship. However, when it is time to be serious, one should still be serious. Wei Chang and Yi Zizi did not move. Immediately, Wei Chang's hands transformed into countless tentacles that looked like pythons. Those that have trypophobia would definitely vomit. Meanwhile, Yi Zizi's hair extended out of the hall along the ground. In an instant, the entire Ji family was filled with screams that soared to the heavens. Looking down from the sky, Ji family seemed to have been coiled by pythons. Furthermore, those blood-red hair looked very strange and chilling. Madame Ziyuan gazed at Wei Chang and Yi Zizi. Those tentacles that Wei Chang used were being transported into Madame Ziyuan's body one by one. From the shape of the tentacles, one could easily tell what those tentacles were. Madame Ziyuan couldn't help but retch. Wei Chang is simply not human. Chapter 287. About 2 minutes later, Wei Chang and Yi Zizi returned to normal. Wei Chang burped. Yi Zizi, slurp, Yihua asked faintly, who won? Your Honor, subordinate is slightly better. Wei Chang said modestly. Yi Zizi refused to accept it and said in a tender voice, shameless. You even ate the corpse that I sucked. Wei Chang chuckled without saying a word. All right, I, the Supreme Overlord, will declare the match to be a draw. Yihua said. Yi Zizi pouted her small mouth, and Wei Chang patted onto Yi Zizi's head with a smile. Looking at the two people behind Madame Ziyuan, Yihua said faintly, deal with them. Yi Zizi took the lead and stretched out 2 strands of her beautiful hair. Right in front of Madame Ziyuan, she sucked the 2 of them dry, leaving behind only their skin. Your Honor, this deity's taste is indeed different. It has been a long time since I enjoyed a deity's taste. What Yi Zizi meant was that I want to suck that woman's taste as well. Even Wei Chang started to purse his lips. It should be very delicious. That tender skin should be especially good to chew. Lai Gu was unwilling, this woman wants to be given to me. Have you thought it through? I, the Supreme Overlord, am very impatient. Yihua said lightly. You are truly in Jizun. Madame Ziyuan asked gravely. I haven't been a supreme being for many years. Hurry up and decide, they're not full yet. Yihua urged. In actuality, I wanted to spare this woman's life. My woman actually became your slave. Gods all had their own servants to do things for them, and the 3 leaders were such servants. This enmity has been formed. I'll settle it slowly. Madame Ziyuan naturally understood the strength of this person. For this person to be able to easily seal me, at the very least, he is about to enter the ranks of overlords. Paying respect to Yihua out of politeness is a must, but I just feel uncomfortable in my heart. It was as if he had been slapped in the face. Madame Ziyuan slowly stood up, then bowed slightly in front of Yihua, which could be considered as a greeting. Looking at Madame Ziyuan's actions, Yihua said faintly, is this how you deities pay respect to an overlord? Not even kneeling down. Supremes are figures revered by the gods. Although you have strength, you are not the supremes conferred by the heavens. Yihua once again lit up a cigarette. Is this sentence again? What a joke. Wei Chang bellowed, kneel. Plop. Under the enormous spiritual pressure, Madame Ziyuan finally knelt down in front of Yihua. Looking at Madame Ziyuan, who was kneeling on the ground, Yihua said gravely, what the hell are you talking about? All gods have servants, and my wife is actually one of your servants as well. Tell me, how should I punish you and your gods? Madame Ziyuan, who was kneeling on the ground, said gravely. Madame Ziyuan gasped for breath, and her face was flushed red from anger. However, there was nothing she could do. As a high and mighty deity, Apart from kneeling to the heavens and earth, he had never even knelt to his husband. But today he was kneeling in the mortal world. Since you don't want to speak, I will first propose your punishment plan. Look at you, you seem to be married. Remarry. If you want Donghuang Baiji to be my slave, then I will have your woman serve my little brother. I wonder what kind of expression those deities will have when they see this. I'm really looking forward to it. Madame Ziyuan, Lai Gu felt that his opportunity had come. Madame Ziyuan shouted out gravely, "You can't do this. I have a husband." Yi Hua said gravely, "Can't your noble and delicate body be tainted by others? I have yet to make you a slave, you should feel fortunate." Madame Ziyuan wanted to resist, but her entire body was being suppressed, and she was unable to move at all. Facing a powerful being, there was really nothing she could do. "Zhu Tian, do you want it?" Yi Hua asked curiously. In actuality, he knew that Zhu Tian wasn't interested in women, and furthermore, this woman wasn't worthy of Zhu Tian. Zhu Tian smiled respectfully, "Your Honor, Zhu Tian doesn't get close to women, thank your Honor for your good intentions." Lai Gu, who was at the side, was overjoyed. "Your Honor, hurry up and call me, you are the one who understands Lai Gu the most, hurry up and bestow it to me." Yi Hua rubbed onto his forehead, "Wei Chang, among my subordinates, who else isn't married? Or those who don't have a girlfriend?" Lai Gu's expression sunk as he hurriedly said, "Your Honor. Bestow it to subordinate." "You already have 3, what else do you want? You are occupying the latrine without taking a shit." Yi Hua shouted out. "I'm truly worried." Lai Gu let out a heavy sigh. "Who doesn't want to have more wives? My godly wife is gone just like that. And His Honor even said that I am occupying the latrine without taking a shit. There is no such thing at all." Wei Chang said respectfully, "Right now, Death Mage and Sun Fang are stuck together like glue, and this is even with His Honor's matchmaking. If there is anyone who doesn't have a girlfriend yet, I am afraid that it would only be the Red and Green brothers." Madame Ziyuan's eyebrows wrinkled. This His Honor is actually matchmaking subordinates, and he is even a matchmaker. What the hell are these Red and Green brothers? What should I do? I am currently sealed, I am unable to run away at all. Yi Hua said faintly, "These Red and Green brothers' performance is indeed not bad. Not only did they escort my daughter back, their performance in the first mission was also outstanding, and they are in line with my expectations. Wei Chang, call the 2 of them over." Right now, the Green and Red brothers were currently, the scene was a bit comical. The television could be seen to be switched on, and the television could be seen to be playing aerobics. 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4 3 2 3 4. Tang Wei was leading the team, and the Green and Red brothers were standing behind Tang Wei. The Green and Red brothers were wearing green and red skin-tight clothes, and a sweat-absorbing headband was tied on their heads. Right now, Big Brother Green was truly green from head to toe, and Little Brother Red was joyful. "Come, sprinkle your sweat and jump." The coach's voice rang out from the television. The Green and Red brothers swallowed their saliva as they looked at sister-in-law's perky buttocks. "Sister-in-law is too sexy. Big Brother, what kind of wife do you think I should look for in the future?" Little Brother Red asked curiously. Big Brother Green paused for a moment, then consoled, "Little Brother, it will be fine if it's a woman. Don't have too high of a requirement, after all there are too many bachelors nowadays." "Then Big Brother, what requirements do you have for your wife?" Little Brother Red asked. However, both of their gazes were placed onto sister-in-law's perky buttocks. Big Brother Green let out a light sigh. "Big Brother doesn't have high requirements, as long as the wife is half as good as sister-in-law, it will be fine." "That's right, if I had a wife like sister-in-law, it would be fine even if my lifespan was shortened by half a day." Little Brother Red sighed. Tang Wei turned her head around and shouted out, "Have you seen enough?" "Haven't seen enough, haven't seen enough." The Green and Red brothers were still reminiscing about their own wives, and thus they casually said it out. Tang Wei's beautiful eyes turned cold as she picked up the chicken feather stick that was at the side. "Stretch out your palm." "Sister-in-law, we also don't want to do that, it's just that sister-in-law, you are too sexy." Big Brother Green hurriedly explained. That's right, sister-in-law is the most beautiful woman that we have ever seen, Big Brother is really fortunate." Tang Wei snorted, "At least you two know how to talk, but don't look around, be careful that your big brother might dig your eyes out." The Green and Red brothers let out a breath of relief. Sister-in-law is only gentle towards Big Brother. I am so jealous of Big Brother. However, the Green and Red brothers still didn't know that a meat pie had fallen from the sky. "The 2 of you, come over for a bit." Wei Chang's voice rang out within the Green and Red brothers' minds. Chapter 288. When the green and red brothers appeared at the scene, Yihua was shocked by what they were wearing. Your honor. Your honor. The green and red brothers hurriedly shouted out. Why didn't Uncle Wei say this earlier? For such a big matter like meeting his honor, we definitely have to be a bit more formal, and green and red cloaks are definitely a must. Look at what they are wearing right now, it's even a tight-fitting one-piece and there's a big lump at the crotch of their pants. This is so awkward. There's even a woman who is kneeling here, what's going on? Wei Chang coughed lightly. Green and red brothers, his honor has bestowed upon the two of you a marriage. The green and red brothers were stupefied. Just a moment ago I was still thinking about my wife, and his honor actually pulled me into a marriage. His honor is truly too understanding towards subordinates. Could it be that the woman who is kneeling right now? Although I can't see her face, judging from her figure, she should be very good. Madame Ziyuan slowly turned her head around to take a look at what kind of people the green and red brothers are. When she saw them, they indeed live up to their reputation. Red and green. The green and red brothers saw it. They saw the woman's face. My God, she's so beautiful, too beautiful, too beautiful. I'm so excited, his honor is simply too great. Yihua waved his hand, and the green and red brothers walked in front of Yihua and kneeled down on one knee. Are you too satisfied with this woman? Yihua asked faintly. How can I not be satisfied? I'm simply too satisfied. Even in my dreams, I would always dream of having a fairy sister like this. Subordinate is satisfied. Subordinate is satisfied. Madame Ziyuan's heart was about to collapse. To actually ask two humans if they are satisfied. This is simply trampling on my dignity. Yihua let out a light sigh. I will say this first, this woman has been with a man before, do you two mind? I don't mind. I don't mind. Yihua became curious and asked, Little Red, tell me, why don't you mind? Your honor, there are too few pure women in this era, and most of them have already been taken away. Initially, I only requested for the woman to be with me, but I didn't expect that your honor would be so worried about subordinates matters. Subordinate is touched. While speaking, little brother Red actually started crying. Other than my mother, only his honor treats me so well. Even Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were only chosen out of millions of people. From this, it could be seen just how rare Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were. Since the two of you don't mind, the two of you can discuss who is going to take over the wedding. I, the Supreme Overlord, will host a wedding for the two of you. Yihua was in a pretty good mood. Only now did the green and red brothers realize a problem. There was only one woman here. How were they going to split her up? Big brother Green didn't say anything, and little brother Red also didn't say anything. The green and red brothers wouldn't grow apart because of a woman, right? Little brother, how about we use the old method? Big brother Green took a deep breath and said. Little brother Red nodded his head. All right, best of three. Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors? Wait a minute. Madame Ziyuan immediately called out to stop Madame Ziyuan. How could his own fate be decided by rock, paper, scissors? Yihua looked towards Madame Ziyuan and asked faintly, What happened? Madame Ziyuan was not a fool. She knew that she would definitely not be able to escape, and even if she wanted to die, it would be hard for her to do so. If she had to make a choice, she would have to make the choice herself. He would look for an opportunity to escape in the future. Since it has come to this, I want to make the choice myself. Madame Ziyuan said gravely. This kind of humiliation, I will definitely take revenge for it in the future. Yihua felt that it was fine, then turned towards the green and red brothers and asked, Do the two of you agree? The green and red brothers glanced at each other and nodded. All right, stand up. It's not good to kneel in this kind of atmosphere. Yihua suddenly liked this kind of feeling a lot. Seems like as the boss, I have to take care of the happiness of my underlings. Also this Zhu Tian, it won't do if he doesn't like women. In the future, I will find a good woman for him. The three stood up and faced each other. Madame Ziyuan's expression was calm, there was no nervousness nor shyness on her face. On the other hand, the green and red brothers' faces were as red as a monkey's buttocks. They were so nervous that they wanted to die. Their hands were even holding each other's hands. They were really good gay friends. I choose him. Madame Ziyuan said faintly. Big brother Green gradually opened his mouth wide in disbelief. Little brother Red hugged onto his big brother and spun around, then shouted out excitedly, Big brother, I have a wife. Ah, that's great. Big brother Green had a dumbfounded look on his face. Why did he choose his little brother and not himself? Don't you have any idea what's going on? Forgive me. In actuality, Madame Ziyuan had her own motive for choosing little brother Red. Little brother Red looks like an idiot and is very easy to deceive. From his gaze, it can be seen that I am able to control him and use him to escape. Don't look at this big brother Green's frivolous and exaggerated appearance. In actuality, he is calm and reserved. He belongs to the type that is hard to control. The excited little brother Red gave his big brother a passionate kiss on the spot. This caused Yi Hua to laugh heartily. I'm happy today. The four subordinates behind Yi Hua also revealed a smile on their faces. His honor sure has put in a lot of effort. Big brother, little brother wants to break up with you. In the future you have to take good care of yourself. Little brother Red was reluctant to part with Yi Hua, seemingly as if he was going to separate from the family in the future. Big brother Green was speechless and his heart was collapsing. Little brother actually has such a beautiful wife. As a big brother, I should be happy, but I am unable to be happy. I am so depressed. Little Green, don't be disheartened. I will naturally find someone for you in the future. Yi Hua said with a smile on his face. Just for the sake of bringing Ali back, not to mention one, I will even find a group of them. Hearing that his honor had expressed his stance, Big brother Green immediately became energetic again. Let's break up then, his honor can introduce someone better to me in the future. Holding onto his big brother's hand, little brother Red said gratefully, Big brother, little brother is going to get married soon. I hope that you can continue on your path of being single for a long time. Big brother Green? Wrong, heaven never bars one's way. I will have a wife soon. Little brother will be leaving first then. Big brother Green slapped onto little brother Red's shoulder unhappily. You are forgetting about me just because you have a wife. Alright, everyone quiet down. Yi Hua said faintly. The Green and Red brothers stopped quarreling. Little Red, leave your wedding to me. Yi Hua was still very concerned about the Green and Red brothers, and this was all because of Ali. Little brother Red immediately squatted down. Thank you, your honor. It is still too early to thank me because I still have a mission for you. Yi Hua said gravely, and a faint murderous intent could be heard from his tone. Everyone present was slightly startled. Ever since his honor came in, his honor has been very calm, but now he is emitting out murderous intent. What does he mean? Your honor, please speak. Subordinate will not hesitate to die 10,000 times. Right now, little brother Red is his honor's fan. If anyone dares to disrespect his honor, I will exterminate his entire family. Yi Hua's murderous intent could be heard. I will give you 2 months' time. If she is not pregnant, you are to personally kill her. Right now, only Wei Chang knew what his honor meant. Back then, Death Mage and Sun Fang were also frightened by his honor. From the looks of it, his honor is indeed treating the Green and Red brothers very well. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.